Chapter 1431. I just woke up. Don't bother me. When the many cultivators in the dragon burial mound heard this, they nearly vomited blood. When people just woke up, they were usually in a bad mood. But this time, it was a little too bad. Of the demon-crowned scions, 5 were dead or alive, and 3 were severely injured and weak. Of the deity Dao Yunyan's outstanding talents, 6 keepers had died. The others were all injured of various degrees. Of the people lying on the ground, which one was not a famous person? Which one was not someone who could take charge of an area? However, the shadowless saber sovereign defeated all of them in 2 or 3 breaths. Furthermore, the shadowless saber sovereign defeated them all before their heads, the divine son Di-Wuk and the celestial demon-crowned scion. After the matter was over, the shadowless saber sovereign still said such a thing. This was truly infuriating. You want to leave? It's not that simple. Di-Wuk snorted coldly and soared into the air, instantly catching up to Shao Chun. Without saying a word, he threw a punch. On the cycle throne, when Shao Chun saw Di-Wuk pouncing over, heavy hatred stirred in his heart for some reason. Even with Shao Chun's mental state, he could not suppress this hatred or control it. Shao Chun had never liked such a feeling. His rationality told him that before he could face Emperor Forsaken, no matter how much he hated this person, he could not kill him. However, he could not suppress the hatred in his heart. He had countless reasons to kill Di-Wuk. However, none of them could compare to Di-Wuk's obstruction on his Emperor's road 5 years ago. If not for Shao Chun, why would so many people die for him? If not for the deity Dao Yunyan interfering, why would his Emperor's road be so difficult? If it were the deity Dao Yunyan, why would he still be stuck in this knot in his heart? Shao Chun did not have much time to think. Di-Wuk was already charging over. With a thought, Shao Chun unsheathed pride. Dang! An intense collision sound rang out. Pride was blasted away by this punch, and was sent flying. The throne moved back, and another 3 divine weapons unsheathed in the air, charging at Di-Wuk. In the sky, divine might filled the air, and saber intent surged. Di-Wuk's divine might flickered with a golden light. As it gathered together, it became like the sea behind him, rising and falling without end. Under the huge waves, Shao Chun was like a lone boat. Under Di-Wuk's storm-like attacks, it seemed like he would be overturned at any time. When the spectating cultivators saw this scene, they were secretly astonished by Di-Wuk's strength. No one expected that Shao Chun could exchange so many moves with the shadowless saber sovereign and still hold the upper hand. After 1,000 moves, Di-Wuk's aura grew stronger and stronger. One punch after another, the divine weapons were sent flying by him. Saber intents shot out randomly, poking holes in the sky one after another. It took a long time for the holes to close up. Amazing! As expected of the divine son, Di-Wuk, he finally stood out at this critical moment. He does not leave a shadow, and the saber does not touch his hand. The shadowless saber sovereign is nearly a legend. I wonder if Di-Wuk can break this legend and push the shadowless saber sovereign off his divine pedestal. Speaking of which, why is the shadowless saber sovereign sealed in ice? I don't know about that. Perhaps the demons surrounded him. Rumor has it that 3/8 Heaven Demon Emperor Wu came to the dragon burial mound. Furthermore, they are not an ordinary 8th Heaven Demon Emperor Wu. They are all demon royal clan powerhouses. I heard that not long ago, the shadowless saber sovereign killed a 7th Heaven Demon Emperor with 3 saber strikes and crippled 3 demon royal halls alone. He went overboard. If Di-Wuk defeats the shadowless saber sovereign as a 7th Heaven Demon Emperor Wu, he will be able to turn the tables. The discussions of the crowd filled the deity Dao Yunyan's outstanding talents with anticipation. In this trip to the dragon burial mound, the deity Dao Yunyan originally wanted to do something big and shock everyone, raising the prestige of the deity Dao Yunyan to another level. Unexpectedly, they ran into this shadowless saber sovereign and ruined everything. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, Di-Wuk stepped forward. As long as he could kill the shadowless Saber Sovereign, he would be able to vent his frustrations. The celestial demon-crowned scion, who was preparing to attack the shadowless Saber Sovereign, pondered for a while when he saw the situation in the air. He exchanged glances with the other demon-crowned scions who could still fight. While everyone's attention was focused on this battle, he quietly retreated. Di-Wuk, are you really not going to let me go? Shao Chen wanted to leave several times, but Di-Wuk stopped him. Now, Shao Chen could not be bothered to suppress the rage in his heart. As he sat on the throne, his long hair fluttered about, revealing a murderous intent. Suddenly, a murderous intent appeared in Shao Chen's eyes. He was like an ancient ferocious beast, stunning Di-Wuk. At this moment, Di-Wuk held the upper hand and did not fear it at all. So what if I stop you? I already used all 7 of my killing moves. I don't believe that you still have the ability to fight me. You will be the first stepping stone for me, Di-Wuk, after I advance to Sovereign Martial Emperor. Look around. My deity Dao Union has 1,000 warships and more than 1,000 deities here. Even if I do not stop you, you will not be able to leave. Either submit to me, submit to the deity Dao Union, or become my stepping stone. Choose your own path. As Di-Wuk stood in the Golden Sea, rings of divine wheels appeared behind him. As he stood upright with his hands behind his back, he looked like a deity. Upon hearing this, Chu Chaoyun, who was extremely far away, could not help laughing. Feeling confused, Yao Manlon asked, Chu Chaoyun, what are you laughing at? Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and said, there are always some people who are laughable and lamentable. If he were in another age, everything he did would not be wrong at all. Unfortunately, he is in the same age as this one. Who are you talking about? You will soon know who I am talking about. In the sky, when Shao Chen heard what Chu Chaoyun said, his lips curled up. He could not help laughing as well, laughing from extreme rage. Enduring blindly, all Shao Chen got in exchange was these words. He wanted to leave, but there would always be someone forcing him to make a move. Di-Wuk, I am not strong. I cannot compare to Emperor Forsaken or the holy masters of several holy lands. I am still slightly stronger than you. You chose your own path. Don't blame me. While on the cycle throne, Shao Chen stretched out his hand and beckoned. Wrath of the 7 deadly sins landed in his hand with a clang. Clang. The 7 divine weapons turned into streaks of light and flew into the blade of wrath one by one, fusing together. This was the first time Shao Chen merged the 7 deadly sins and used them. The might of the divine weapons immediately soared into the sky. The 7 deadly sins, which were already infinitely close to transcendent divine weapons, now reached the might of a transcendent divine weapon. Transcendent divine weapon, is this your trump card? If you think that this is enough, then you are too naive. Di-Wuk smiled coldly, and the divine kingdom slowly emerged from the Golden Sea under his feet. Then, it shrank continuously and condensed into a miniature castle that entered his hand. A primordial emperor treasure. Naive? You are overthinking. While holding the merged 7 deadly sins, Shao Chen suddenly stood up from the cycle throne. The instant he stood up, the throne entered his black robes. 2 mutated black dragons were engraved on the throne's left and right sides. The 10 points of saber energy in Shao Chen's sea of consciousness exploded at the same time, producing a loud explosion. Shao Chen's body released a light even more resplendent than the sun. Di-Wuk's boundless golden sea instantly scattered. When this saber strike merged 10 points of saber energy, a shadow flashed in the hearts of all the spectating cultivators, a shadow left behind by the saber light. Dang! The divine kingdom in Di-Wuk's hand blocked for a moment before getting knocked away. In the next moment, the saber broke through Di-Wuk's 9 layers of defensive restrictions and landed on his divine robes. Shao Chen did not know what the divine robes were made of, but they did not shatter. Instead, they formed a barrier that weakened Shao Chen's strength. Even so, Di-Wuk's internal organs shattered in an instant. Shao Chen went flying, turning into a beam of light as he flew backward. Before everyone's eyes, Shao Chen flew further and further away. Finally, he turned into a dot and vanished from sight, landing somewhere unknown. It seemed like he was no longer in the savage battlefield. Chapter 1432. After sending out this saber strike, Shao Chen felt incredibly fatigued and fell backward. The cycle throne appeared in midair and caught him. The divine weapon split into 7 and stabbed into the back of the throne. Then, Shao Chen closed his eyes and rested. Right now, saber energy was Shao Chen's greatest trump card. With all 10 points of saber energy bursting out, it felt like his body was drained. The mental energy in his sea of consciousness was completely drained, and he felt extremely fatigued. Earlier, the flawless 7-saber technique drained most of the 1,000 strands of primordial energy. Now was the moment when Shao Chen was at his most fatigue. The throne flew slowly, and no one dared to block it. Everyone shut up and said nothing. As they looked at this newly advanced saber sovereign, their gazes filled with reverence. That earlier saber strike was simply too horrifying. If not for the monarch divine robes that Di-Wuk wore, he would have died for sure. Even the 9 restrictions and a primordial emperor treasure could not block it. One could easily imagine how mighty it was. The many warships of the deity Dao Union instantly vanished, all heading in the direction that Di-Wuk flew in. The divine sun was the core of the deity Dao Union. If anything happened to him, there would be no need for the deity Dao Union to continue existing. However, Shao Chen's earlier saber strike was extremely horrifying, overwhelming everyone present. No one knew where Di-Wuk flew to. It would not be easy to find him in a short time. Chu Chaoyun, you knew this would happen long ago? Yao Manlan could not hide the shock in her eyes. This shadowless saber sovereign was simply ridiculously strong. The speed at which he rose was simply too fast. However, what shocked Yao Manlan even more was that Chu Chaoyun seemed to understand this shadowless saber sovereign very well. He was certain that the shadowless saber sovereign would be able to teach Di-Wuk a lesson. Chu Chaoyun smiled and dodged the question. Stop staring at the saber sovereign. It is time for us to get down to business. Look in that direction. Everyone looked in the direction Chu Chaoyun pointed, and saw the crowned scions of the 18 demon royal halls quickly forming hand seals under the cover of many demons. At this moment, everyone's gaze was focused on the shadowless saber sovereign. The deity Dao Union had retreated to search for Di-Wuk, so no one noticed them. The celestial demon crowned scion grasped this opportunity very well. Beside him, the thunder demon royal halls Lei Yun, the snow demon royal halls Bai Ling, and the earth demon royal halls Ning Feng quickly formed hand seals. Very few people did not notice that the black dragon chi in the sky was gathering in the direction of the demon dwellers. The demon royal hall's people's intentions were very clear. They wanted to use this opportunity to summon out the evil shadow sword. Then, the celestial demon crowned scion would make a move immediately to obtain the evil shadow sword. After the 4 demon crowned scions formed their hand seals, strands of black dragon chi in the sky headed for the empty space the 4 surrounded. For a moment, tens of thousands of dragons soared into the sky, black shadows boundless, causing everyone to cry out in alarm. What's going on? Why is the dragon chi in the sky moving for no reason? The commotion was simply too great. This scene finally alerted everyone. However, it was already too late. From the moment Di-Wuk and Shao Chen started fighting, the celestial demon crowned scion decisively grabbed hold of this opportunity. While everyone was distracted by the battle between the shadowless saber sovereign and Di-Wuk, he started laying out his plans. He had waited for this moment for too long. Boom! A black demon sword broke out of the ground where the 10,000 dragons soared into the ground. Immediately, a monstrous demonic might was released from the sword. The sky and the ground turned dark. The evil shadow sword. At this moment, everyone knew what happened. It was the evil shadow sword. Only now did someone startle awake from a dream. Too many things happened in this dragon burial mound. First, it destroyed the 3 demon royal halls. Then, the Tenchi demon royal halls appeared at the same time. Then, the ice sculpture appeared. In the end, the ice sculpture turned into the shadowless saber sovereign. Then, the shadowless saber sovereign fought many battles, dazzling everyone and overwhelming them. Some even forgot their true purpose in coming to this dragon burial mound. Damn it! No wonder that group of demons never left the place where the 3 demon royal halls originally stood. Many people, like Chu Yang and the other outstanding talents who had thoughts about the demon sword, felt regret. However, they could only watch as the celestial demon crown Scion soared into the sky together with that demon sword. It looked like the celestial demon crown Scion was about to become his. Xiao Chen, who had already flown to the edge of the dragon burial mound, was startled awake by the demonic chi filling the air. When he saw this scene, he seemed to understand something. He muttered to himself, "This celestial demon crown Scion, what a great scheme! Something's not right." Suddenly, Xiao Chen discovered something off. There seemed to be a figure hidden in the clouds where the demon sword soared into the sky. That figure seemed to have anticipated that the demon sword would appear and had been guarding this place in advance. If not for Xiao Chen's strong spiritual sense accidentally sweeping that spot, he would not have discovered it. Immediately, Xiao Chen, who was preparing to leave, thought to himself, "Who is so bold? Who dares to play such tricks under the nose of the celestial demon crowned Scion?" Xiao Chen was too far away, and there was no chance of snatching this demon sword. However, that did not stop him from watching a great show. The demon sword soared into the sky extremely quickly. Even the celestial demon crowned Scion, who was the first to fly out, could not catch up in a short time if he moved at full speed. However, the outstanding talents in the surroundings only moved now. They were still very far away from that demon sword. It was clear that this demon sword belonged to the celestial demon crowned Scion. Boom! Pooh! The demon sword pierced through the thick black clouds and slowed down. When the celestial demon crowned Scion saw this scene, joy appeared on his face. He pushed off the air and accelerated again. The instant the celestial demon crowned Scion pierced through the black clouds, the scene before him so frustrating that he nearly vomited blood. He saw Chu Chaoyun standing in the clouds. The evil shadow sword stuck close to his body as it continued to fly up. Just as the evil shadow sword was about to pass Chu Chaoyun, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the sword's hilt. That posture looked like the evil shadow sword flew into Chu Chaoyun's hand on its own. With a flip of his left hand, a sword box appeared. With practiced movements, Chu Chaoyun nimbly placed the evil shadow sword, which was struggling intensely, into that mysterious sword box. Immediately, the overwhelming demonic might and icy sword intent of the evil shadow sword were completely isolated. Chu Chaoyun's actions were as smooth as flowing water. It was like he had practiced this countless times, waiting for this moment. If an outsider were here, they would not doubt that this sword was Chu Chaoyun's. After doing all this, Chu Chaoyun raised his head and saw the fuming celestial demon crowned Scion. Shock appeared on the celestial demon crowned Scion's face as he asked incredulously, "Brother celestial demon, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? What am I doing here?" The celestial demon crowned Scion, who was already close to going crazy from anger, got careless and his chi and blood surged. He could no longer suppress the internal injuries he suffered earlier, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood. However, he was so angry that he vomited blood. Blood flew out like swords. Chu Chaoyun frowned and used the sword box to block his face. Blood immediately stained the sword box. After vomiting a mouthful of blood, the celestial demon crowned Scion felt much better. He shouted, "Chu Chaoyun, I should be the one asking you that. What do you mean by what am I doing here? What are you doing here?" Chu Chaoyun smiled and patted the sword box. I came to retrieve my family's sword. Look, my luck is pretty good. It was buried underground for tens of thousands of years, and I actually managed to find it. It looks like my grandfather's grandfather did not lie to me. Your family's sword. The celestial demon crowned scion guffawed and said, Chu Chaoyun, I think you must be tired of living. How dare you snatch the demon sword? Even if you are the special envoy of the Dark Church, the Dark Church's churchmaster will not be able to save you if the 18 demon monarchs condemn you. Chu Chaoyun said extremely seriously, You are wrong. I only took my family heirloom. From the start to the end, I did not participate in the fight for the demon sword. In the end, the celestial demon crowned scion obtained the evil shadow sword. Congratulations! What does that mean? The celestial demon crowned scion's mind was filled with question marks. The other party clearly obtained the sword. Why did he say that I obtained it? Just as the celestial demon crowned scion felt confused, the carefree and smiling, seemingly harmless Chu Chaoyun suddenly attacked. His palm wind was like thunder, and his body was like lightning as he landed a palm strike on the celestial demon crowned scion's chest. The celestial demon crowned scion's body quickly pierced through the black clouds and flew down. The demonic clouds in the sky gathered at his chest, its might overwhelming. The mysterious phenomenon was startling. We obtained it. This is the mysterious phenomenon of the demon's sword recognizing a master. The crowned scions of the 18 demon royal halls and the group of cultivators all smiled in wild joy. Although there were many twists and turns along the way, with all sorts of incidents happening, they still managed to obtain the most important evil shadow sword. Chapter 1433. Everyone from the Devil Hall laughed. Only the celestial devil young lord, who was in midair, was crying. He took out an item from his bosom. It was a small sword. The body of the sword was engraved with a mysterious formation. It was very exquisite, but it was just an ordinary small sword. In the demon world, it was known as the demon guiding sword. It was specially used to absorb demon chi. This demon guiding sword had clearly been specially refined. The effect of absorbing and restraining demonic chi was startling. It sucked in all the demonic chi in the sky. The celestial demon crowned scion, who was holding the demon guiding sword, had an exceptionally sullen expression. He finally understood why Chu Chaoyun said that he had obtained the demon sword. This was akin to making him a scapegoat. Seeing such a huge phenomenon, he was also the person closest to the demon sword. Everyone probably believed that he, the celestial demon crowned scion, had taken the evil shadow sword. Even if they wanted to, they would not be able to retort. Looking up at the sky, Chu Chaoyun was nowhere to be seen. He had already disappeared without a trace. Damn it! The celestial demon young master held the demon guiding sword as his fists trembled. This was the first time he had been played so badly. After a while, he calmed down and said coldly, Chu Chaoyun, I will definitely settle this score with you. The debt had to be settled, but not now. At this moment, everyone thought that he was the one who had taken the demon sword. The various cultivators of the Kunlun realm were currently chasing after him. Soon, the people of the deity Dao Union would arrive as well. If Shao Chen wanted to leave, the further he went, the better. The people of the demon royal halls would not believe that he did not obtain the evil shadow sword. All the more, the people of the Kunlun realm would not. His explanation was of no use at all. Chu Chaoyun's move was too brilliant. He casually snatched the demon's sword and then left silently, as if he had never existed. He placed all the pressure on the celestial demon young master. In a few flashes, the celestial demon crowned scion returned to the place where the many demon crowned scions were gathered. How is it? Did you obtain the evil shadow sword? The many demon crowned scions asked in anticipation. The celestial demon young master said with a sullen face, If I say that I didn't get it, would you believe me? How can that be? We saw you and the evil shadow sword pass through the clouds one after another. When you came down, the demonic clouds entered your body. Isn't that the mysterious phenomenon of the evil shadow sword recognizing a master? Young Master Celestial Demon, are you trying to go back on your word? We can even let you have the evil shadow sword. However, the benefits that you promised are far inferior to the evil shadow sword. The many demon crown scions clearly did not believe him. They even felt that the other party was trying to go back on his promise. The celestial demon young master smiled bitterly in his heart. He seemed to be the scapegoat for sure, but he had to tell the truth. Not only had Xiao Chen been angered to the point of vomiting blood by Chu Chaoyun, but he had also snatched away the evil shadow sword. He really could not bring himself to say it. It wasn't just because of his pride. More importantly, it was a huge blow to his prestige. The celestial demon young master did his best to squeeze out a smile. I'm just joking. I've already obtained the demon sword. Let's prepare to retreat and return to the astral battlefield first. When we arrive at the devil world, I will fulfill all the promises I made to you. Congratulations, the might of the evil shadow sword is still somewhat lacking compared to the inheritance of a ruler weapon. With the evil shadow sword, when young Master Celestial Demon young Master ascends to the position of Demon Monarch in the future, unifying our 18 demonic worlds will be even smoother. The various congratulatory words were like sharp swords stabbing into the Celestial Demon young Master's heart. Despite the incredible pain, he had to squeeze out a smile. Only the Celestial Demon young Master understood the pain. After chatting for a while, the Demon Crown Scions started to gather the factions of their respective Demon Royal Halls, preparing to leave the Kunlun realm. Since the Demon Crown Scions rushed to the Kunlun realm, they naturally thought of a way to retreat. The Demon Crown Scions attacked at the same time, striking the ground under their feet. The ground instantly shattered, revealing a huge, deep pit with the corpse of an ancient demon monarch standing in it. The corpse had already rotted long ago, leaving only a pile of bones. Demonic chi mixed with the corpse, producing an unpleasant stench. Sorry for the offense. The celestial demon young master bowed slightly, and a talisman appeared in his hand. This was the extremely precious corpse guiding talisman. As long as the talisman was shot into the corpse, it could temporarily control the corpse, allowing it to erupt with 1/10 of its combat prowess. Even if the ancient demon monarch only had 1/10 of its strength, it would be enough to create enough chaos for them to leave easily. Go! The demon monarch's skeleton expanded in the air, and became as large as a small mountain, blocking the many Kunlun realm cultivators chasing after the demon royal halls. Many demon hall demons took the opportunity to board the warships and soar into the clouds, flying towards the outer realm. When they reached the starry sky, there was someone to receive them. It was as if they were safe. It was a perfect plan. Unfortunately, he did not obtain the evil shadow sword. Elder Sister Lingling, did you see the shadowless saber sovereign? Where did he go? Bai had been paying attention to the shadowless saber sovereign, ignoring the chaotic situation. Shui Lingling watched as the people of the demon hall calmly retreated. Her heart was burning with anxiety. When Xiao Chun heard Bai's question, he quickly looked around. However, he discovered that the shadowless saber sovereign was long gone. Let's leave this place first. The demon monarch's corpse will explode soon. If we don't leave now, we will all be buried here. And Yuanxi said somewhat anxiously as he watched the demon monarch corpse in the distance swell up even more. Without any hesitation, he urged the others to leave. This battle started by the evil shadow sword finally came to an end, allowing everyone to broaden their horizons. Nearly all the famous outstanding talents of this golden age were here. The competition between the Kunlun realm's outstanding talents and the demonic world's demons was more or less equal. No one gained much of an advantage. However, when the later generations mentioned this matter that was destined to be passed down through the ages, the one they talked about the most would not be Di Wuk or the celestial demon crowned scion. It would be the shadowless saber sovereign. After this battle, no one would doubt the shadowless Saber Sovereign's possession of the Saber Sovereign Medallion. The title of Saber Sovereign was well deserved. Wu Xiaotian was not wrong to hand over the Saber Sovereign Medallion. But what no one knew was that in this gathering of wind and clouds, there was a person who came and left quietly. This person angered the celestial demon crowned scion to the point of vomiting blood. This person easily snatched away the evil shadow sword, becoming the biggest winner. Compared to the shadowless Saber Sovereign, this person was like a shadow unknown to others. At this moment, this person was calmly rushing to the rendezvous point with Yao Manlan while carrying the sword box. Seeing the sword box in Xiao Chen's hand, Yao Manlan asked in disbelief, "You really obtained the evil shadow sword?" Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and opened a small opening in the sword box, revealing half of the evil shadow sword. Then, he quickly closed it. Yao Manlan revealed an expression of wild joy. She stretched out her hand, wanting to take the sword box. Chu Chaoyun gently put it away and carried it on his back. "This is for Ling Yu, not for you. If you don't want to give it to me, then so be it. Even if you give it to me, it would be a gift to Master," Yao Manlan said unhappily. However, even when she was angry, her face was still very alluring, causing one to have wild thoughts. However, Chu Chaoyun was not interested in her at all. He was not tempted by her ever-present charm at all. However, suddenly, his expression changed slightly, not giving Yao Manlan any time to think. After dragging her for 1,000 meters, he finally turned around. "What?" Yao Manlan felt dissatisfied. However, when she turned her head and saw the scene in front, she was so frightened that she retreated another 1,000 meters. At some point in time, a throne had landed in front. A person sat on the throne, holding a sheathed saber in his right hand as he stood upright on the ground. Although this person sat there casually, he could not hide the air of kingship he exuded. As Xiao Chen's long hair fluttered, he let his aura drift casually in this strong wind. Clang! 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 The indistinct clanging of sabers and swords clashing in the air rang out. It was like someone was moving around in the air. Under such an aura, Yao Manlan found it extremely difficult to breathe, so she moved back again. Her heart pounded heavily. Why did the shadowless Saber Sovereign chase after her at this moment? The main reason was because of the earlier scene of Xiao Chen defeating the many outstanding talents of the deity Dao Union and the demon royal halls with a wave of his hand. That was too great a shadow in her heart. Otherwise, she would not be so afraid of the shadowless Saber Sovereign. Yao Manlan thought of something, and her expression changed slightly. Could he be here for the evil shadow sword? If that were true, would Chu Chaoyun be a match for the shadowless Saber Sovereign? Chapter 1434. Good move. Not only did you obtain the evil shadow sword, but you also made the celestial demon crowned scion a scapegoat. Chu Chaoyun, your style of doing things has not changed at all. Xiao Chen said softly with a faint smile under the mask. When Xiao Chen collected the 7 thrones and the cycle first appeared, he seemed to have seen his fate. At the end of his fate, he seemed to have an unavoidable battle with Chu Chaoyun. The other party stood in the sky and controlled the 3,000 lower realms. When the sword swept through the air, he said that 10,000 years was a cycle. Chu Chaoyun smiled and said, "I think so. There is no need for you to be alarmed. Why did you chase after me? Are you here to snatch the evil shadow sword?" Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "I am not interested in the evil shadow sword. The symbolic meaning of this sword is greater than its actual meaning. I believe that you should not be interested in it, either. Why do you want to get involved? Not interested? Haha. It looks like I made this trip for nothing. In that case, I'll be leaving. This is the Kunlun realm's interior. I really do not have the time to chat with you." When Chu Chaoyun heard that, he smiled faintly and turned to leave. Clang! Pride flew out of its scabbard and landed in front of Chu Chaoyun after he turned around, blocking his path. "Why the rush? I came here only to ask you one thing. Why did you go through all this trouble, insisting on fighting me? You said that 10,000 years is a cycle. However, what does the grudges from 10,000 years ago have to do with us? Why do you have to live so bitterly? Xiao Chun asked unhurriedly from the cycle throne. Then, his expression suddenly turned grave. When Chu Chaoyun heard that, his expression changed slightly. His previously calm expression wavered somewhat. When did I say that to you? 10,000 years is a cycle. How did you know that? Who told you that you went to the Blue Dragon Palace? That's not right. If you dare to go to the Blue Dragon Palace now, any one of the primes can smack you to death. Chu Chaoyun muttered to himself. After analyzing the situation for a while, he still could not figure it out, filled with doubts. You did indeed tell me that. However, it is not now but in the future. By coincidence, I managed to catch a glimpse of my fate in the Kunlun realm. At the end of my fate, you personally told me that. Xiao Chun told the other party the truth, not intending to hide anything. In the distance, Yao Manlan pricked up her ears, but she was confused by what she heard, unable to understand what was going on. However, there were also those who understood. It turned out that this Chu Chaoyun and the mysterious shadowless Saber Sovereign were old acquaintances. Furthermore, the shadowless Saber Sovereign was not here for the evil Shadow Sword. With this, Xiao Chun heaved a sigh of relief. When Chu Chaoyun heard the word fate, he felt somewhat disappointed and frustrated. He smiled bitterly and said, "Fate, that's right. This is our fate. It was already decided 10,000 years ago. Our goal has always been the same. We've been waiting for an opportunity that only comes once every 10,000 years. However, in the end, only one person will be able to obtain this opportunity." Xiao Chun said softly, "I never believe in fate. If possible, I am willing to give this opportunity to you." Chu Chaoyun laughed and said, "Give it to me? If you give it to me, where are you going to find Lu Ryue? You cannot give up this opportunity. Cultivate well and get out of this war chariot as soon as possible. Otherwise, you might not even be able to withstand a single sword strike from me." As soon as he finished speaking, a pupil appeared in the depths of Chu Chaoyun's eyes. A slit opened in his dual heart pupils, and a strand of pure primal chaos aura spread out, lingering in his eyes. It manifested a boundless universe and a myriad of stars, flickering and extinguishing. Dang! Pride, which was stuck behind Xiao Chun, seemed to have received a heavy blow. After a dull thud, it flew out and landed behind the cycle throne. "You've consumed too much energy and your combat power is less than 50%. I won't fight you. The next time we meet, I will take away the origin of the Blue Dragon Palace's heavenly fire. Until next time." After knocking away Pride, who was blocking his way, Chu Chaoyun landed beside Yao Manlan and quickly carried her away. As Xiao Chun watched Chu Chaoyun leave, he entered deep thought. Chu Chaoyun had already told him what that opportunity was. That opportunity was to leave this abandoned land and pursue a higher path of the martial Tao. Was it really that difficult to leave the abandoned land? However, this was not the time to think about this. Based on the strength that Chu Chaoyun displayed earlier, he had already comprehended the state of primal chaos and could already use it. Xiao Chun needed to find the cycle arts quickly, merge the 7 states, and comprehend the state of cycle. Otherwise, he might not be able to block Chu Chaoyun. "I need to find a place to recover my strength first." The savage battlefield was vast and boundless. Finding a hidden place was not difficult. After a while, Xiao Chun landed in a spacious valley. He took out 2 essence stones from the war chariot and closed his eyes to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation. When Xiao Chun finished absorbing the 2 essence stones, his primordial energy had nearly recovered to its peak. However, the mental energy in his sea of consciousness had not completely recovered yet. Opening his eyes, Xiao Chun opened his palm, and the heavenly snow divine flame slowly surged out. There was a painting in his palm. The beautiful mountains and rivers was a shrunken space. Snowflakes drifted down between his palm, and a cold wind blew. The snow-white flame looked calm and peaceful. Xiao Qun revealed a smile on his face. This time, when the heavenly snow divine flame melted the cold qi, it unexpectedly broke through and advanced to rank 4. Flames were split into 9 grades. The higher the grade of a flame, the harder it was to raise its grade. The primal chaos level heavenly snow divine flame was even harder to raise its grade. Having such a fortuitous encounter was truly delightful. Aside from this, Xiao Qun also discovered something else. The 1,000 strands of primordial energy in his heart of an emperor had undergone the cleansing of the ice. The density of the primordial energy vaguely increased significantly. The 1,000 strands of primordial energy were originally just a long, blurry line. Now, they took the vague form of a dragon. It seemed like if Xiao Qun continued refining them, these 1,000 strands of primordial energy could all take the form of a dragon. Primordial energy turning into a dragon was something only a prime could do. However, a prime's primordial energy had at least 10,000 strands. In comparison, Xiao Qun was far from comparable. Even if it really turned into a dragon, he would find it hard to defeat a prime. Xiao Qun withdrew the heavenly snow divine flame into his palm and took out the saber sovereign medallion. Xiao Qun's primordial energy had improved again. He wanted to try and see if he could push open that door. He sent his spiritual sense into it. Soon, Xiao Qun entered that wondrous void world. A majestic palace exuding an ancient aura stood in front. The doors were tightly shut. This made it so that no one could see what was inside. This made them even more curious. Xiao Qun was no exception. He was very curious about the scene behind the doors. "You're here." The item spirit, Qin Yun, appeared from nowhere with a smile on her face. "However, I want to try and see if I can push open this door." Nodding, Xiao Qun did not say anything more. He circulated his energy, stepped forward, and soared into the air. Then, he struck the door with his full power. Buzz! A crack appeared on the door, and it quickly closed. A rebound force appeared, and Xiao Qun was forced back. The gap in the door only existed for a second, but in that second, Xiao Qun saw a lot. There were many statues in the hall, and each statue seemed to be alive. His gaze was as sharp as a blade as he stood there, neither servile nor overbearing. They stood there stubbornly. Some of the statues were on the verge of shattering, but they still showed no signs of collapsing. The statues here should depict the past saber sovereigns. They are all true bladesmen. Xiao Qun wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said softly. Qingyun flew over and nodded. "That's right. If you enter it, there will also be a statue. The Saber Sovereign Medallion has been passed down for a long time. Its history is even longer than you think. Perhaps we can uncover more of the Saber Sovereign Medallion's secret. The Saber Sovereign Medallion has other secrets." Qingyun smiled and said, "That is natural. The Saber Sovereign Medallion is an opportunity that Pan Huang left behind in the abandoned land. However, none of the past Saber Sovereigns managed to grab hold of this opportunity. I think very highly of you. Unfortunately, you have to leave now. Your strength is equivalent to that of an 8th Heaven Emperor Wu. You are still far from that of a 9th Heaven Emperor Wu." Xiao Qun did not show any intention of leaving. He asked sullenly, "I would like to ask if I can open these doors as long as I erupt with the strength of a 9th Heaven Emperor Wu." Qingyun nodded. "Of course. However, the difference between an 8th heaven and a 9th heaven is not something that can be made up with a few profound martial technique. The number 9 is supreme. Going from an 8th heaven to a 9th heaven is 100 times harder than going from a 7th heaven to an 8th heaven. In that case, there is no problem." Xiao Qun formed hand seals, and his figure suddenly expanded, reaching 3 kilometers tall. This was the Buddhist major magic skill, Dermic World. Chapter 1435. When Xiao Qun executed Dermic World, not only would his figure become huge, but his strength would also soar explosively for a short period, reaching an incredible level. The only flaw was that this dermic world could not last for too long. Xiao Chen could not delay any further. He strode forward and arrived before Pan Huang Hall in one step. At this moment, Pan Huang Hall no longer looked very tall to Xiao Chen. The doors were only at his knees. At this moment, Xiao Chen definitely could not use his hands to push the doors open. So, he excused himself and kicked the doors of Pan Huang Hall. Qin Yun gaped at this scene in disbelief. Over the past tens of thousands of years, she had seen many arrogant saber sovereigns. However, none of them dared to kick the doors like Xiao Chen did. Amid her shock, the doors buzzed open. Whoosh! Xiao Chen reverted to his original form. Then, he landed on the ground and entered the hall. Qin Yun was stunned for a moment before quickly following. No matter what, the doors were open in the end. That Xiao Chen was the new saber sovereign and also the master of her item spirit, Qin Yun. The hall was somewhat empty. After walking through a passageway, Xiao Chen arrived at the place where the statues stood. The statues were placed on different platforms of different height. The first row was the lowest, and the further one went, the higher the platforms. Xiao Chen's line of sight continued upward. There was only one statue in the last row, which was also the highest. That person wore golden battle intent, and his long hair casually fluttered about. He showed a flamboyant expression, letting his sharpness shine everywhere. That person had a smile on his face. His aura gave off an indescribable sense of carefreeness and calmness. Compared to the various saber sovereigns, the feeling that he gave off was the most special. However, one could not think of any words to describe what was special about him. They were clearly all statues. What was the difference? Qin Yun explained, "That is Pan Huang. He forged the saber sovereign medallion. He is also the fortuitous encounter that he left for all the bladesmen of the Kunlun realm." Xiao Chen put down the doubts in his heart and asked, "Did he leave the Kunlun realm in the end?" Qin Yun nodded. Pan Huang was born in the most glorious era of the ancient era. Even then, he stood at the peak of the world. He passed the numerous tests of Kunlun Mountain long ago and left this world. Kunlun Mountain? Are you saying that the way out of the abandoned land is in Kunlun Mountain? Xiao Chen asked excitedly. Qin Yun asked in confusion, "You already have such a cultivation. Has no one told you that the way out of the Kunlun realm is on that boundless mountain path in Kunlun Mountain?" Xiao Chen suddenly came to his senses. When he first went to Kunlun Mountain, he felt that it was strange. At that time, all the cultivators of the various races were there. The stone of origin was also buried under the mountain. There was no end to the mountain peak, and no one knew where it led to. Now he understood. It turned out that the endless mountain road led to the exit of the Kunlun realm. But don't get too excited. That path has always been there, but from ancient times until now, there have been too few people who have been able to walk out alive. That path is known as the path to heaven, but it also has another name, the path of death. Qin Yun continued, "Even a prime doesn't have the confidence to take that path. Once it's taken, it'll be hard to turn back. To most people, that is a path of death, with no chance of survival. In the long history of the martial Tao, from the immemorial era to the ancient era, and then from the ancient era to the current era, how many people like Pan Huang were there? They can be counted on one hand. Everyone knows that that is the path out of the Kunlun realm. However, who dares to take it?" Xiao Chen thought about it calmly. Suddenly, he remembered what Chu Chaoyun said about the once-in-10,000 years opportunity. Since the path in Kunlun Mountain was a path of death, the path Chu Chaoyun mentioned had to be another path. Furthermore, the Thunder King disappeared back then, his whereabouts unknown even now. He probably knew that he would not be able to make it to the end of his lifespan. He had embarked on this path of no return. Now that he thought about it, the odds were against him. There was also the cyclic astral lord. This fellow once hinted to me that I would have to walk the path that the Thunder King took sooner or later. So that was the case. He did not dare to walk this path himself. He wanted me to bring him away after I finished walking it. What are you thinking about? Qin Yun asked with a smile as she looked at the distracted Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and replied, "It's nothing. It's just that I did not come into contact with them in the past few years, so no one told me about this. This is the first time I heard about it, so I was somewhat shocked. Don't mind it. It's fine. Of all the Saber Sovereigns in the past, you are the first to kick open the door. You are also the first to comprehend Saber energy on your own before coming in. I think very highly of you." Qin Yun appeared very happy. She pointed to a place and said, "Let's go. I'll bring you around and familiarize you with the hall. That is the comprehension platform. Although you already comprehended Saber energy, you will get twice the results with half the effort when cultivating there." Xiao Chen looked in the direction Qin Yun pointed and walked over step by step. Then, he saw a prayer mat floating in the air. Sitting cross-legged on it, Xiao Chen was startled to discover a large tree behind him. It was a Bodhi tree filled with Bodhi flowers. The fragrance of flowers spread under the shade of the tree, inducing one to enter a profound state without even realizing it. "Come down. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. There are still some places that I have not introduced to you yet." Qin Yun pulled Xiao Chen down and brought him around Pan Huang Hall, not bothering to explain. The instant Xiao Chen came down, he turned his head back and discovered that the Bodhi tree was no longer there. Only then did he understand that the Bodhi tree was just an illusion and not the true Buddhist holy tree. This is the 5-element pool. There is a lightning pool, a strong wind pool, a frost water pool, and a heptagold pool. You can find a corresponding pool for all the attributes in the world. Pointing at a large pool, Qin Yun introduced, "Regardless of what type of power you cultivate, you can find it and use it to temper your will. Your will of thunder has not condensed into an innate thunder crystal yet, right? If you have time, you can soak in the lightning pool." When Xiao Chen went over to take a look, he was so startled that he took 3 steps back. The small pool was filled with black lightning. Who knew how many lightning bolts were in there, flickering endlessly, not stopping for even a moment. Just thinking about soaking in there made Xiao Chen tremble in fear. He would probably die the instant he went in. The space in Pan Huang Hall was very mysterious. Qin Yun led Xiao Chen around for a long time before they finished looking around. After going around the place, Xiao Chen became even more curious about this Pan Huang. This Pan Huang was truly a genius. To be able to leave such a space in the Saber Sovereign Medallion, Pan Huang simply took great care of the future Saber Sovereigns. No wonder Wu Xiaotian said that there would definitely be benefits to obtaining the Saber Sovereign Medallion. Pan Huang was far stronger than Xiao Chen had imagined. Even the Qing Emperor was not as strong as he was. The peak of the ancient era was an era even more dazzling than the golden age of the present. What kind of existence was he to be able to stand at the peak of that era? "All right, now that we are done looking around, it is time to teach you how to cultivate Saber energy," Qin Yun said seriously, withdrawing the smile on her face. They finally reached the main topic. Xiao Chen listened attentively, looking at the other party quietly. There are 3,000 great Tao and 800 side doors in this world. As the saying goes, the side doors are not the great Tao. The 800 side doors are not the great Tao. As for the Saber Tao, it is not even considered a side door. You should know that first came the sword, then the saber. The saber did not exist in the first place. Hence, among the 3,000 great Tao and 800 side doors, the Saber Tao does not exist. Xiao Chen listened quietly. He already knew all this. He already knew this when he learned the saber. However, this was not the main point yet. Although Pan Huang was not the inventor of the Saber Tao, he was the one who led the Kunlun realm's Saber Tao to its peak. Only after him did the Saber Tao enter the ranks of the 3,000 Great Tao and become comparable to the Sword Tao. Only by comprehending Saber energy can one be considered to have entered the Saber Tao. Only then can one possess Great Tao energy. Chapter 1436. Great Tao energy? Xiao Chen muttered to himself. Then, he raised his head and looked at the other party. As he mulled over these words, he pondered them. Qing Yun nodded and said, "That's right. It is Great Tao energy. However, you have not crossed the threshold and have not obtained the Tao, so there is no need to comprehend it now." When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled and said, "Your words are interesting. Comprehending the Tao is for the sake of obtaining the Tao. Why is there a need to comprehend the Tao after obtaining it? It is like the process and the result. I already have the result, so why do I need the process?" Doubt flashed in Qing Yun's eyes as she rubbed her chin with her finger. Then, she looked at Xiao Chen strangely and asked, "Did I overestimate you? You still can't figure out such a simple principle? That should not be the case. You comprehended Saber energy at such a young age. Many Saber sovereigns did not manage to comprehend it until their death." Upon hearing this, Xiao Chen felt embarrassed in his heart, like she was looking down on him. "Very well, I'll tell you about it. Obtaining the Tao means entering the door and seeing the Tao. Comprehending the Tao is to continuously improve, ponder, and search for the source of everything, all the way to eternity. Before you cross the threshold, everything you think is far from the Tao. The more you think, the more you feel that you are correct. Who knows, you might be even further away from the Tao." After Qing Yun explained in detail, Xiao Chen came to his senses. Simply put, one had to find the direction first before thinking in the right direction. Without finding the right direction, everything one thought about would just be a waste of brain power. One might even go in the opposite direction, drifting further and further away from the Tao. "I understand. Please continue." Xiao Chen humbly accepted. Then, he gave Qing Yun a faint smile, indicating for her to continue. When Qing Yun saw Xiao Chen's attitude, she nodded to herself. Although he was a little stupid, he was sufficiently humble. If Xiao Chen knew what she was thinking, he probably would not be able to smile. "I'll now demonstrate what Great Tao energy is and give you the right direction." After Qing Yun finished speaking, she arrived outside Pan Huang Hall and opened her palm. A light that looked like clear water leaped around in her palm. How familiar! Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. The light contained the aura of Saber energy. However, there seemed to be many other things as well. Smoother, more natural, and more relaxed. It was not like Xiao Chen's Saber energy, which came bit by bit. After it appeared, it had to be released. Otherwise, it would immediately explode. Tao! With a flip of Qing Yun's hand, the light scattered into specks, bright and resplendent. Xiao Chen was shocked. There are so many of them. Could they all be Saber energy? Xiao! Thousands of motes of light gathered, forming a bright wheel behind Qing Yun. Countless Saber images flickered continuously. An overwhelming force burst out from Qing Yun's body. Xiao Chen felt his qi and blood churning as he was knocked flying. He vomited a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Then, he looked at Qing Yun. The other party was just standing there quietly, not doing anything at all. However, there was an invisible power, a power that he was most familiar with, that sent him flying. At that moment, Qing Yun was like a god, unapproachable and unblasphemous. It was like a treasured saber forged from bright jade, untainted by even a speck of dust, overflowing with brilliant light and emitting boundless majesty. Tao! The bright wheel suddenly shrank to a spot. Then, it gave off a bright light. It turned into a straight line, rising continuously as if it wanted to reach the ends of the sky. Xiao Chen, who had already fallen to the ground, vomited a mouthful of blood as he got knocked back again. He could not block this force at all. Even if this force did not target Xiao Chen on purpose, he could not get close to it or block it. The bright light turned into a straight line and rose to 300 meters before stopping. 100 meters was no more than 300 meters. However, it gave Xiao Chun the feeling that it was even more majestic than a tall mountain. Qing Yun scattered the great Tao energy and drifted to the ground. Then, she helped Xiao Chun up and asked, "Are you all right?" After wiping away the blood at the corner of his lips, Xiao Chun stood up and said, "I'm fine. Is this your great Tao energy?" Qing Yun smiled and replied, "No. I'm just an item spirit. How can I obtain the Tao? This is some great Tao energy that Pan Huang left behind. Now, you should know what you should be working towards, right?" Xiao Chun nodded and said, "I understand a little now." Qing Yun looked into Xiao Chen's eyes and knew that he was not lying. She continued, "Cultivate 100 points of saber energy first before you are qualified to try comprehending the Tao. 100 points of saber energy merge into a perfected great Tao energy. Then, you can be considered to have obtained the Tao. After that, you can formally comprehend the Tao. I'll tell you about the Tao later. Do you still have any questions for now?" Xiao Chun thought for a while and said, "You said that there are 3,000 great Tao and 800 unorthodox paths in the world. Can you list them in detail and which Tao ranks higher?" Qing Yun shook her head and said, "3 is just an imaginary number. The 3,000 great Tao means that the Tao is boundless. There are countless unorthodox methods as well. There are definitely more than 800 of them. The Tao itself is not differentiated by rank. It is just that in some eras, some Tao does not have any legendary characters. After a long time, this Tao will slowly weaken. In severe cases, it might even disappear." Qing Yun continued, "The Tao is very important, but techniques are even more important. Don't be too obsessed with the Tao. Just like a bookworm, no matter how many books he reads, if he can't put what he learned to use, he's still trash." Xiao Chen indicated that he understood. Just like his previous saber intent, no matter how strong his saber intent was, it was useless if he did not know how to use it. One last question. Is there a shortcut to cultivating saber energy? Right now, I need to draw saber energy from the saber domain. It is very troublesome. Qing Yun frowned and said, "I don't know about that. What I know is the cultivation method of great Tao energy." The meaning behind Pan Huang's words was that Xiao Chen's level was too low, so Pan Huang could not be bothered to leave behind such insights. However, you don't have to be too vexed. There have been countless saber sovereigns in the past. However, there are less than 10 people who are truly qualified for me to teach them. Furthermore, there is not a single person who has comprehended great Tao energy. Qing Yun encouraged, "I still think very highly of you. Become the first person to comprehend great Tao energy under the Saber Sovereign Medallion. Otherwise, it would be too depressing if Master's good intentions were not fulfilled." Pan Huang's purpose in leaving behind the Saber Sovereign Medallion was to give later generations an opportunity to comprehend great Tao energy. Unfortunately, after the peak of the ancient era, the martial Tao declined. Although there was no lack of geniuses, no one could comprehend great Tao energy. Qing Yun had already given up hope long ago. Only when she saw Xiao Chen did her fighting spirit reignite. "I'll do my best." Now that he had a direction, Xiao Chen was in no rush. He did not immediately go out to cultivate saber energy. Instead, he went to the side of the lightning pool and entered deep thought. Xiao Chen's will of thunder was just short of breaking through to the innate thunder crystal. Of the 3,000 great Tao, the thunder Tao was definitely among them. Aside from the saber Tao, Xiao Chen also desired this thunder great Tao a lot. Ever since he started cultivating the purple thunder divine incantation, he had formed an affinity with lightning. No matter how he looked at it, he needed to comprehend the thunder great Tao in the future. Wanting to cultivate the thunder Tao was like the saber Tao needing to comprehend saber energy. The thunder Tao needed to make a breakthrough and obtain an innate thunder crystal. Although it looks rather scary, My will of thunder is just short of breaking through. It would be too much of a pity if I don't give it a try. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and jumped into the pool filled with countless lightning bolts. Boom! In just an instant, this strand of spiritual sense vanished. Back in reality, Xiao Chen's entire body trembled. His head ached and his entire body went numb. His teeth chattered uncontrollably. Xiao Chen could only clench his teeth tightly, afraid of accidentally biting his tongue. However, despite the pain, Xiao Chen was delighted to discover that the bottleneck of his will of thunder had loosened somewhat. Again, after the pain passed, Xiao Chen sent out a strand of spiritual sense and entered Pan Huang Hall again, jumping in without hesitation. This repeated again and again. At the start, Xiao Chen could not last even a second. Eventually, he slowly adapted to it, staying in the lightning pool for an increasingly longer period of time. When Xiao Chen made a breakthrough in Pan Huang Hall, the iron demon that he lured into the mysterious lake also had its own fortuitous encounter. A fortuitous encounter that no one expected. Chapter 1437. In the mysterious lake, the iron demon's bloody battle had already dyed the lake red, making it extremely thick. Suddenly, a splash appeared on the surface of the lake. The injured iron demon leaped out of it. Ha ha ha! We're finally out. Hey, where's the shadowless saber sovereign? After laughing foolishly, the iron demon noticed that the target he was chasing had already disappeared. The smile on his face disappeared and he immediately frowned. Scratching his head, he said, "It's over, I lost him. The two big brothers are going to scold me again." What is this thing? In his left hand was a 7-colored spirit fruit that was overflowing with spiritual energy. The ferocious beasts at the bottom of the lake had fought with the iron demons until now to protect this spirit fruit. It took him a lot of effort to kill all the beasts, and out of curiosity, he dug out the fruit. If it were the cultivators of the other races, they would definitely check the fruit immediately and store it properly. He would not be like Iron Demon, who first wanted to lose sight of Xiao Chen, and then wanted to let down his two big brothers. Finally, he remembered that there was something in his hand. There's no demonic energy at all. One look and I can tell that it's trash. To think that a few ferocious beasts would treat it as treasure. How stupid. The heavenly materials and earthly treasures in the devil world all contained dense devil chi. Devils were also naturally fond of these things. The spiritual energy of the rainbow spirit fruit was so dense that it was about to overflow. Faintly, there was even a hint of immortal spiritual energy. Clearly, it was the legendary Immortal World Spirit Fruit, a precious material that would cause even the Holy Lord to fight over it. However, the Iron Demon just didn't like it. After sniffing it a few times, it tossed it away. Then, it casually stepped on it and crushed it. The moment the spirit fruit shattered, more spirit chi leaked out. The fragrance assaulted the nose, and the Iron Demon could not help but take a few more breaths. He didn't think much of it. He casually glanced in a direction and casually left. Unknowingly, the Iron Demon felt his mind growing clearer and clearer. Many of the questions he had been confused about became clearer. His cloudy, colorless eyes slowly changed. In the end, his eyes were filled with spiritual energy. He didn't look like the foolish Iron Demon at all. 1 step, 2 steps. After taking 10 steps, Iron Demon suddenly stopped. Damn it! The Iron Demon slapped his forehead and took a step back, landing on the spot where he had crushed the spirit fruit. However, the spirit fruit had already been trampled to a pulp. It was mixed with the soil, and its spiritual energy was nowhere to be found. How could I be so stupid? Just a whiff of the immortal chi was enough for me to gain enlightenment, yet I actually stepped on it myself. Iron Demon wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He wished he could chop off his own leg. He didn't realize that ever since the birth of the Iron Demons, there had never been an intelligent Iron Demon. He was the first one in history. I finally understand why those two fellows made me foolishly chase after the shadowless saber sovereign alone. As the Iron Demon thought about it, he understood many things from the past. It turned out that the Iron Demon clan had been used like fools for so many years. Shadowless Saber Sovereign, should I thank you? The Iron Demon smiled coldly. Since I, sorta, have such a fortuitous encounter, I must change the fate of the Iron Demon tribe. Putting aside the matter of the spirit fruit being crushed, the Iron Demon calmed himself down. Spreading out his mental energy, he carefully examined the surroundings, and a frown appeared on his face. Why are there so many experts in this savage battlefield? After a while, the Iron Demon discovered several strong auras. Some of these existences even made him feel afraid. If the Iron Demon had walked out carelessly earlier and was discovered, he would have died a miserable death. I have to wait for a while before I can go out. After making up his mind, the Iron Demon jumped into the lake and hid, preparing to lie low for the time being. The lake was a forbidden land. Outsiders would not casually inspect it. Right now, this was the safest place. If it were the Iron Demon of the past, he definitely would not have thought of this. However, now that he was intelligent, everything was different. In a secluded valley, after cultivating for 5 days, Xiao Chen finally broke through his will of thunder into an innate thunder crystal. Actually, if it were an ordinary person, he would only need one attempt to break through his bottleneck in the lightning pool. However, Xiao Chen had accumulated too much will of thunder. Furthermore, the purple thunder divine incantation was lightning attributed in the first place. Hence, breaking through was exceptionally difficult. However, the benefits of breaking through were clear. Inside the Saber Sovereign Medallion, Xiao Chen could already sit calmly at the edge of the lightning pool. However, he still did not dare to go to the core or dive too deep. However, compared to his initial situation of retreating at the first spot, it was much better now. As Xiao Chen enjoyed the baptism of lightning, he felt exceptionally comfortable. His understanding of lightning improved by another level. It's time to withdraw. Feeling that he could no longer endure it, Xiao Chen stood up and leaped out of the lightning pool. Not bad. You are indeed a person with great perseverance. It looks like you might be able to grasp a second Tao in the future, the Thunder Great Tao, Qin Yun said softly from the side with a smile. However, I cannot give you any pointers on the direction of the Thunder Great Tao. You will have to slowly explore it yourself in the future. Of course, it would be best if you could find a senior to lead the way. Xiao Chen understood this principle. When it came to the cultivation of the Great Tao, there were people pointing the way and no one pointing the way. If not for the Saber Sovereign Medallion, Xiao Chen did not know when he would have comprehended the Saber Great Tao. There is also the ice pool over there. Do you want to give it a try? Your will of ice is somewhat too weak. Xiao Chen took a look and shook his head in rejection. There is no need for now. I have to leave the savage battlefield. I have already wasted too much time. Good. I hope that the next time we meet, you will have already cultivated 100 saber energy, Qin Yun said with a smile. Definitely. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and returned to reality. Seated on the throne, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and casually sensed the innate thunder crystal. Then, he opened his eyes again. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, 5 bolts of lightning descended from the sky, illuminating the valley. Xiao Chen had a feeling in his heart. A ruler. That's right, a ruler. All the lightning-attributed energy within 5,000 kilometers was under Xiao Chen's control, revering him as king. This feeling was very profound. In the past, no matter how strong Xiao Chen was, he had to obtain lightning-attributed energy from the world. However, after forming the innate thunder crystal, he felt like he was the ruler. All the lightning-attributed energy was his subjects. With a thought, he could decide their life and death. So, that is the case. The mysteries of the innate thunder crystal lie in the word ruler. With a thought, the thunderclouds vanished without a trace, and the desolate valley returned to normal. Xiao Chun extended out his spiritual sense to sense the situation in the surroundings. When he withdrew his spiritual sense, he frowned slightly. Indeed, it was more or less as Xiao Chun guessed. He injured the divine Sun Di Wuk, so the deity Dao Union would not let him off so easily. The major characters of the deity Dao Union had already rushed to this savage battlefield, and were searching for him. Several of the strong auras among them were no weaker than the 3 demons who worked together to kill him back then. There were even stronger existences. However, they hid their auras rather well, so Xiao Chun could not sense them with his spiritual sense. It looks like I have to be more careful before I can leave. After making up his mind, Xiao Chun withdrew his aura and flew into the clouds, heading for the savage battlefield. After 3 years of bitter cultivation, as long as he wanted to, even primes would not be able to discover his presence. As Xiao Chun flew, he discovered that many Kunlun realm cultivators, who were about to leave, were stopped by the deity Dao Union's people. After checking with his spiritual sense, Xiao Chun discovered that the deity Dao Union wanted them to hand over some of their gains in the savage battlefield. If they did not hand it over, they would have to join the deity Dao Union, which was extremely tyrannical. In this fight with the demon royal halls, the strength that the deity Dao Union displayed did indeed qualify them to be tyrannical. Xiao Chun did not have a good impression of the deity Dao Union. Normally, when he did not have any worries, it would be fine to deal with them. However, now, he definitely could not cause any more trouble. However, just as Xiao Chun hid his aura and was about to leave, seeing a group of familiar figures blocked by the deity Dao Union's people, Xiao Chun, who was flying as fast as lightning in the clouds, suddenly stopped. Very few people in this world could make Xiao Chun put himself in danger. He had always been calm and resolute, never indecisive. However, these acquaintances in front of him were clearly part of that minority. This was very surprising. Xiao Chun had not expected Shui Lingling, Bai, and the others to be trapped in this savage battlefield as well. He clearly remembered that after the demon monarch corpse was summoned out, his first senior sister and the others immediately left. It has already been 5 days. Why are we still trapped here? That was right. The group of people below was Shui Lingling, Anjuanshi, Bai, Kong Yuan, Yuan Su, and the other fiend race outstanding talents. Logically speaking, these people were all outstanding talent. It should not be difficult for them to break through the deity Dao Union's blockade. However, the one blocking them was the heaven-punishing corpse god's personal disciple, Xingju. More importantly, he had forged the deity statue. Although it would be very difficult for Xiao Chun to advance to prime in this lifetime, his explosive increase in strength in a short time allowed him to suppress Shui Lingling and the others. Behind Xingju were 3 deity Dao Union worship. There were many elite deity race, ghost race, and corpse race cultivators on the warship. Whoosh! More than 100 people jumped off the warships. All of their cultivations were not low. Furthermore, they seemed to be cultivating the same cultivation technique. As they moved, the ground flickered with golden light. Images of deities flickered in the sky above their heads. Seeing such a lineup, Bai revealed a trace of resentment on his face. He lowered his head and said, "Elder Sister Lingling, I'm sorry. If not for me being stubborn and going to look for that shadowless saber sovereign, everyone would not be trapped." Shui Lingling smiled and said, "What are you feeling wronged about? I was the one who agreed to look for the shadowless saber sovereign. If there is someone to blame, it should be me." As Anjuanshi held the true dragon lightning whip, he said calmly, "This group of people from the deity Dao Union is becoming increasingly overboard. If the deity race did not help them forge the deity statue, they would not be able to be so arrogant." Xingju led the 100 deity Dao Union cultivators over slowly. The 3 warships behind them followed like shadows, putting immense pressure on them. "Miss Shui, we meet again. I believe you are not willing to join our deity Dao Union. However, the rules cannot be changed. Hand over your gains in the savage battlefield, and you may leave. Xing Ju smiled faintly as he spoke unhurriedly. Since when did the deity Dao Union resort to banditry? Are they really that poor? Shui Lingling asked coldly. That is not the case. Not only is the deity Dao Union not poor, but it also has the richest resources in the world. As long as one joins the deity Dao Union, not only do they not have to hand over their gains, but they can also obtain all sorts of treasures from the deity Dao Union. Xing Ju did not get angry. He smiled and said, for example, if the few of you are really willing to join, the deity Dao Union can immediately forge a deity statue for you, allowing your strength to soar rapidly. Like you. That's right, as strong as me. I meant like you, with the body of a human but the heart of a dog. Shui Lingling smiled coldly. Xing Ju's face sank. You do not know how to appreciate favors. That's fine as well. You Haotian sect dogs are living too comfortably. I have to teach you a lesson. Just at this moment, a bolt of lightning suddenly descended from the sky, heading for Xing Ju. The lightning bolt appeared without any warning, catching Xing Ju off guard. He retreated in a fluster and nearly got struck. Buzz! The lightning bolt vanished. It turned out that a saber had descended together with the lightning bolt. Boom! 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 Bolts of lightning descended one after another. As each bolt of lightning descended, a saber accompanied it. The lightning was fast and urgent, and there was no warning. 3 bolts of lightning passed by. After 3 bolts of lightning, Xing Ju's figure became somewhat unsteady, nearly falling over. This made him feel extremely unbearable. Xiao Chun tried to gather energy in his body several times, but it was interrupted every time. He could only dodge. Xiao Chun anxiously sought a breather. However, the more anxious he was, the more openings he revealed. The lightning in the sky didn't give him a chance to catch his breath at all. When the 5th lightning bolt fell, when the 5th bolt of lightning descended, Xing Ju cried out in pain, and his entire body twitched. A saber stabbed into his chest, pinning him to the ground. Electric light flickered on the saber. When Xing Ju touched it with his hand, the electricity made him tremble and scream. Xiao Chun tore through the clouds and quickly descended. Clang! 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 The few sabers stabbed into the ground quickly returned behind the throne. All that was left was the blade of wrath that pinned Xing Ju to the ground. It's the shadowless saber sovereign. Quickly inform the various elders. When the 100 cultivators behind saw Xiao Chun descend, they could not care less about Xing Ju being pinned to the ground. They were so startled that they quickly returned to their warships and fled far away. They looked like they had seen a demon, panicking. With a thought, Xiao Chun sheathed the wrath saber as well. Xing Ju coughed a few times. Then, he looked at Xiao Chun and smiled. Shadowless Saber Sovereign, indeed, you have not left yet. It would have been fine if you did not show yourself. However, once you do, this savage battlefield will definitely be your burial ground. Whoosh! Xiao Chun stretched out his hand, and a strong suction surged out, pulling Xing Ju over. Seeing the other party's flustered face, Xiao Chun felt very rueful for some reason. Back then, when Xiao Chun first met the other party at the king conferral ceremony, he was very sharp. Now, although Xiao Chun's strength was extraordinary, he had lost all his sharpness. With such a mental fortitude, he would never be able to advance to prime in this life. The deity Dao Union had truly harmed many people. If the deity Dao Union really left the Kunlun realm, the luck of the other races, aside from the deity race, would decrease significantly in less than 100 years. They might even end up going extinct. The deity race's wild ambitions were clear. However, this was Xing Ju's own choice. Xiao Chun could not be bothered with it. He only sighed. I won't kill you. Keeping you alive is the greatest punishment for yourself. Xiao Chun casually tossed Xing Ju's body 10 kilometers away. Bang! He kicked up a large cloud of dust. As of now, Xiao Chun's cultivation rivaled that of the 8th Heaven Emperor Wu's. Furthermore, there was his cultivation of the saber Dao. Someone like Xing Ju did not interest him at all. Whoosh! The throne turned into a beam of rainbow light and quickly vanished from Shui Lingling and the others, turning into a black dot and vanishing. Shadowless Saber Sovereign, don't go! Bai felt anxious and wanted to give chase. However, Shui Lingling stopped him. Elder Sister Lingling, don't stop me. He is. Woo-woo. Bai wanted to say the last two words, but Shui Lingling covered his mouth and whispered, don't say it. By now, Shui Lingling had already guessed that her feelings were not wrong. The shadowless Saber Sovereign was an existence that she worried about day and night. This was sufficient to comfort her. It was also good to come out as the shadowless Saber Sovereign. At least, he would not attract too much attention. If his identity was exposed, the primes would definitely not give him a chance to grow. Although Xiao Chen's strength was acceptable in the early stages, he was still a distance away from the Holy Lord and the primes. If Xiao Chen removed his mask one day, he would definitely be able to hold his own and face primes directly. Shui Lingling was very meticulous. She quickly guessed why Xiao Chen hid his identity. Her guess was very close to the truth. Elder Sister Lingling, he really is, Bai said quickly after struggling free from Shui Lingling's grasp. However, he was only halfway through his sentence when Shui Lingling interrupted him. I know. It's just that I can't say it. We are leaving soon. He must have his own difficulties. The fact that he is willing to take the risk to help us already shows that he has not changed. He is doing well. Bai entered deep thought. After a while, he smiled and looked at Shui Lingling. Elder Sister Lingling, I understand now. Understand what? And Juanxi asked out of curiosity as he walked over. This is a secret. I'm not telling you. Think about it yourself, Bai said with a smile, feeling much happier. Shui Lingling smiled warmly and said, let's go. Don't miss this opportunity. Go back and report to Master. We can't let the deity Dao Union's people be too unbridled in this savage battlefield. On the other side, Xiao Chen felt somewhat bitter in his heart. He could not meet his family and friends. Aside from the knot in his heart, the biggest reason was what Shui Lingling guessed. The identity of the shadowless Saber Sovereign was very important to Xiao Chen. He needed to use it to enter the Mirage Immortal Palace. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures descended from the sky and blocked in front of Xiao Chen. Lights flickered, and another 6 people descended from the remaining 3 directions, sealing off all of Xiao Chen's paths of retreat. There were also 3 middle-aged men in the sky, standing side by side. They hovered in the air, looking at Xiao Chen coldly. When Xiao Chen saw these 3, he revealed a bitter smile. What a big move! Even the 3 holy masters appeared. There were 2 8th Heaven Emperor Wus in each direction. Furthermore, Xiao Chen could feel the aura of their holy beast martial spirit. 8 8th Heaven Emperor Wus and the 3 holy masters had personally arrived. That was to say, the 3 holy masters had sent out their peak combat power to surround and suppress him, the shadowless Saber Sovereign. A Holy Land sect leader was mostly the 9th Heavenly Layer Emperor Wu, and there were 2 or 3 8th Heavenly Layer Emperor Wu's Supreme Elders. If there were any more trump cards, they would only be used to deal with Supreme Martial Artists. For example, the Sacred Beast Totem of the Land of the 3 Holy Masters, the Poison Cloud of the 5 Venoms Sect, and the Sun and Een Flame Pools of the Zodiac Hall. Apart from the Sacred Beast Totem, the 3 Holy Masters had gone all out to encircle him. This was simply inconceivable. Xiao Chen had just chopped down on Di Wuk. If he really killed Di Wuk, would Emperor Forsaken lead the deity Dao Union to kill him? Shadowless Saber Sovereign, Emperor Forsaken sees that you are a character. As long as you are willing to hand over the Saber Sovereign medallion or submit to the deity Dao Union, you will be willing to help us. We can let bygones be bygones, and everything can be discussed. We can even give you the position of Vice Guild Leader. One of the 2 Supreme Elders of the Phoenix's Passion Palace, who were blocking in front, said, During the Golden Age, many outstanding talents joined the deity Dao Union. However, the deity sovereign never gave the position of vice guild leader to the others. Aside from the three holy masters, the other vice guild leaders are all primes. Shadowless Saber Sovereign, you know how much the deity sovereign thinks of you, right? Another person at the side took over the conversation and continued. As they spoke, the two felt somewhat jealous. Even their positions in the deity Dao Union were not as high as the Shadowless Saber Sovereign's. As long as the Shadowless Saber Sovereign was willing, he could immediately become their superior, his status on par with the three holy masters. Emperor Forsaken had never thought so highly of a person before. These words were indeed true. If possible, the two would not be willing to say this. However, the deity sovereign instructed them to say this, so they had no choice but to say it. On the throne, Shao Chen smiled coldly to himself. Then, he said indifferently, Emperor Forsaken really thinks highly of me. What a joke! Shao Chen had an irreconcilable grudge with Emperor Forsaken. If not for Shao Chen's tough life, he would have died many times over because of Emperor Forsaken. If not for Emperor Forsaken, Shao Chen would not have ended up like this. He clearly had the chance to kill Diwuk, but he could not. If not for Emperor Forsaken, how could there be a boundless blood grave in Meteor Trail City for 5,000 kilometers? All the tombstones used blood to outline Shao Chen's name. He hid this hatred in his heart, never forgetting it in this life. Of course, this is a treatment that we cannot receive. Think about it. You even injured the Divine Son earlier. The deity sovereign's magnanimity is clear from this. Think about it. Even if you are not willing to join the deity Dao Union, as long as you hand over the Saber Sovereign Medallion, you can receive the deity Dao Union's treatment. The deity sovereign is already very polite to you. How you think about it is up to you. The two supreme elders spoke one after another. Their words could be described as extravagant. However, aside from smiling coldly in his heart, Shao Chen did not do anything else. Did they take him for a fool? While the two supreme elders spoke, the old men in the other three directions silently shrank the encirclement. However, it did not matter. Shao Chen was just stalling for time. He only had one chance to break out of this encirclement. If he missed this chance, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. It is impossible for me to join the deity Dao Union. However, I can consider handing over the Saber Sovereign Medallion. Seated on the throne, Shao Chen pretended to be deep in thought. Then, he continued, however, how can you guarantee that you will not let me off after you obtain the Saber Sovereign Medallion? Don't worry. If you are willing to hand over the Saber Sovereign Medallion, I swear that I will let you go. The three holy lords will not make things difficult for you either. One of the Phoenix's Passion Palace's old men said with a smile when he saw that there was hope. Emperor Forsaken probably knew the value of the Saber Sovereign Medallion as well. Hence, he could tolerate Shao Chen using the Saber Sovereign Medallion in exchange for his life. However, while Emperor Forsaken could tolerate it, Shao Chen could not bear to part with it. Putting aside the benefits of the Saber Sovereign Medallion, Wu Xiaotian, who personally handed it over to Shao Chen could not bear to do so. Very well, come over, then. Shao Chen twirled the Saber Sovereign Medallion in his hand and looked at this person. However, do you have the guts? Xiao. Suddenly, the White Tiger Holy Lord descended from the sky. He waved his hand to stop the Supreme Elder, who was about to step forward. He snorted coldly and said, "Stop playing tricks. I will use an oath stone to swear that as long as you are willing to hand over the Saber Sovereign Medallion, I will let you go." After saying that, he really took out an oath stone and used the White Tiger Holy Lord's name to swear that as long as Shao Chen was willing to hand over the Saber Sovereign Medallion, he would let him go. Shao Chen's expression changed slightly. He was somewhat surprised. He had not expected the White Tiger Holy Lord to come down personally. Originally, Shao Chen thought that at most, only 2 Supreme Elders would come together. That way, the instant he handed over the Saber Sovereign Medallion, he would find an opportunity to kill his way out. However, he had not expected the White Tiger Holy Lord to come down himself, not giving him any chance at all. "I'll risk it all. No matter what, there is only one chance. I have to risk it all." Shao Chen circulated 10 points of saber energy, preparing to gather them on the Saber Sovereign Medallion at any moment. At the same time, he secretly circulated the sharp spirit finger. When it was necessary, he would erupt out with 10 points of saber energy before using the sharp spirit finger. After the White Tiger Holy Lord made his oath, he glanced at Shao Chen, who was twirling the Saber Sovereign Medallion. Then, he slowly walked over to Shao Chen. Shao Chen's thoughts were very simple. If the other party did not comply, he would directly smack him to death. If not for the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign's death order, the shadowless Saber Sovereign would not have come. The White Tiger Holy Lord walked in the air with a majestic gait. With every step he took, a tiger roar resounded. Winds blew and clouds scattered. Mysterious phenomena that only the Holy Lord could have appeared behind him. As the other party approached step by step, Shao Chen felt an increasingly heavy pressure. At this moment, Shao Chen clearly understood that there was a huge gap between him and these major characters of the Kunlun realm. However, if Shao Chen knew that the White Tiger Holy Lord was even more astonished, he would probably feel a little proud in his heart. The White Tiger Holy Lord was now an existence equal to a deep abyss demon monarch. In the entire Kunlun realm, only a handful of Emperor Wu could remain calm under his aura. 10 steps, 9 steps, 8 steps, Shao Chen could already clearly see every detail of the White Tiger Holy Lord's face. The other party's figure slowly enlarged in his eyes. 3 steps. When the White Tiger Holy Lord was only 3 steps away from Shao Chen, he stopped. He stretched out his hand and said, "Take it out and I'll let you go. Otherwise, die." The White Tiger Holy Lord's words were cold and emotionless, containing a sharp and stern murderous intent that sent a chill down one's spine. Xiao! The Saber Sovereign Medallion stopped spinning. Then, Shao Chen grasped it tightly and slowly extended it, as though he had yielded to the other party's pressure. The gazes of the 8 Supreme Elders and the 2 Holy Lords in the air narrowed as they focused on Shao Chen's actions. Many gazes gathered together, giving off a formless pressure, as if they were shouldering a tall mountain. Shao Chen's heart tensed to the extreme. This time, when he stood up for Shui Lingling and the others, he nearly forced himself into a dead end. However, even if he had another chance, he would not regret his decision. There was only one reason: it was worth it. If Shao Chen felt that it was worth it, he would not regret it for the rest of his life. Even if the 3 holy masters gathered together, he would not regret it. Dream on. It would be strange if I gave the Saber Sovereign Medallion to you. When Shao Chen extended his hand halfway, he suddenly burst out, and the throne instantly merged into his clothes. The Saber Sovereign Medallion released a dazzling light and shot out with the horrifying explosive force of 10 points of saber energy. Xiao! At such a close distance, even if Shao Chen was the Holy Lord, he would not be able to dodge. There was a loud sound, and the berserk saber intent gave off a dense light before exploding. The entire sky began to tremble as if it was about to shatter. The might of the 10 points of saber energy that could instantly kill an 8th heaven martial technique, when gathered in the Saber Sovereign Medallion, was enough to make one's heart tremble. The 2 Holy Lords and the 8 Supreme Elders all felt their hearts in their throat. Will something happen to the White Tiger Holy Lord? When the light scattered, the situation before them was somewhat unexpected. Blood leaked out of the White Tiger Holy Lord's mouth, but he still had a faint smile on his face. He held the Saber Sovereign Medallion in front of his chest with 2 fingers. "Do you think that I did not guard against you? This old man has experienced tens of thousands of battles, both big and small. How could I not see through your schemes? The white tiger Holy Lord's lips curled up as he revealed a mocking expression. Heavy disdain flashed in his eyes. Sharp spirit finger. Shao Chun seemed to have expected this. The moment the light scattered, the sharp spirit finger happened to strike the saber sovereign medallion. Pu Si. A scarlet light flashed, and the saber sovereign medallion pierced through Shao Chun's heart. Shao Chun leaped into the air and stomped on the white tiger Holy Lord, who had vomited a large mouthful of blood. Then, he stepped forward to catch the saber sovereign medallion and charged forward at lightning speed. Shao Chun sent the white tiger Holy Lord flying with one kick. However, the situation was not very optimistic. There were 2 Eighth Heaven Supreme Elders blocking the way in front, and there were 2 Holy Lord charging over from behind. The Holy Lord's speed was very fast. As long as these 2 Eighth Heaven Supreme Elders blocked Shao Chun for even a moment, they would catch up to him in an instant. Go all out. Just as Shao Chun merged the 7 divine weapons and prepared to fight to the death, the 2 Eighth Heaven Emperor Wu blocking the way in front both cried out miserably and fell to the ground like meteors. This is? Shao Chun's heart skipped a beat. When the 2 Eighth Heaven Emperor Wu fell, he saw the figure behind him. It was the Iron Demon that sneak attacked him before. What's going on? Since when could the Iron Demon sneak attack so silently? Also, why did the Iron Demon make a move against the 2 Phoenix's Passion Palace Supreme Elders? Questions filled Shao Chun's mind, all of which he could not understand. When Shao Chun clearly saw the Iron Demon's eyes, he felt even more confused. That intense spiritual energy did not seem like something the Iron Demon should have. Shadowless Saber Sovereign, you gave me, Su Erda, an opportunity. Today, I made a move to save you. From now on, we do not owe each other anything. The Iron Demon smiled and leaped into the air, moving past Shao Chun. Before his flabbergasted gaze, the Iron Demon flew towards the 2 Holy Lords. Although the Iron Demon was not a match for the Holy Lord, its strong physical body was sufficient for it to endure many blows and forcibly flee. This was something that Shao Chun could not compare to. The Iron Demon had this innate advantage. Shao Chun could not think too much. This was a rare opportunity, so he turned into a beam of rainbow light and quickly fled. Continue the chase. We absolutely cannot let this fellow escape the savage battlefield. The Vermilion Bird Holy Lord and the Black Tortoise Holy Lord were entangled by the Iron Demon. Rage filled their hearts, so they got the remaining 6 Supreme Elders to continue chasing Shao Chun. The Iron Demon Su Erda was in a sorry state. Facing the combined attacks of the 2 Holy Lords, he could not put up any resistance at all. He could only rely on his abnormally strong physical body to resist, without the slightest ability to retaliate. They wanted to fight the Iron Demon in one move, but the 2 Sacred Lords realized to their surprise that the Iron Demon wasn't able to defeat it in one move. However, the 2 Holy Lords were shocked to discover that the foolish Iron Demon in their original impression did not appear on this Iron Demon. As long as it was a killing move, the Iron Demon would not foolishly attack. It would either dodge or strengthen its physical body to defend with all its might. The more problematic thing was that this Iron Demon was determined to hold the 2 back. No matter who tried to escape, the Iron Demon would hold them back, preventing them from doing so. After 15 minutes, the Iron Demon Su Erda thought to himself, "This is as far as I can help. If I continue, I will die here as well." Being able to hold out for 15 minutes for Shao Chun was already very benevolent, worthy of that opportunity. The human race's Holy Lord is only SOSO. I will seek guidance from the 2 of you half a year later. The Iron Demon laughed loudly and soared into the air, heading for the starry heavens. When the Black Tortoise Holy Lord saw that the Iron Demon was about to leave, he immediately wanted to give chase. However, the Vermilion Bird Holy Lord stopped him. Go and check on the White Tiger Holy Lord to see how his injuries are. I'll go and chase after the Shadowless Saber Sovereign. The Black Tortoise Holy Lord nodded and said, Right, I nearly forgot. After saying that, the two went their separate ways. One went to chase after the shadowless saber sovereign, and the other headed for where the white tiger Holy Lord landed. In a deep pit, the black tortoise Holy Lord found the white tiger Holy Lord, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, quickly treating his injuries. The white tiger Holy Lord saw a hole in the white tiger Holy Lord's chest. Blood flowed out continuously, not stopping even now. The white tiger Holy Lord's complexion was pale, and his entire body gave off a charred smell. Clearly, he was severely injured. "Brother White Tiger, how did you get so severely injured?" the black tortoise Holy Lord asked, frowning in confusion. A junior injured the bona fide Holy Lord. This was simply too inconceivable. The white tiger Holy Lord slowly opened his eyes and said, 10 points of saber energy and a sharp spirit finger can instantly shatter a heart. Do you think it is very easy? Saber energy? Sharp spirit finger? The black tortoise Holy Lord was greatly startled. That's impossible. This shadowless saber sovereign actually comprehended saber energy and the sharp spirit finger. In the entire world, there are only two people who know the sharp spirit finger. One is the Flame Rock Sovereign, and the other is the Blue Dragon King. Could it be that this shadowless saber sovereign is the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen? The more he thought about it, the black tortoise Holy Lord suddenly had a bold and startling thought. The white tiger Holy Lord shook his head and said, "It can't be the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. This fellow jumped off his emperor's road 5 years ago and suffered a backlash from his great tribulation of wind and fire. It is already pretty good that he managed to survive. How can it be possible for him to rise again? Furthermore, if he really is the Blue Dragon King, why would Emperor Forsaken invite him into the deity Tao Union?" "Then, he is?" the white tiger Holy Lord said after some thought. "It can only be said that he is a variable that suddenly rose up in the Golden Age. Otherwise, Emperor Forsaken would not have treated him differently." The two did not know that even the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign could not see through the shadowless saber sovereign. If they told the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign about the shadowless saber sovereign knowing the sharp spirit finger, the shadowless saber sovereign would not be able to see through him. If they told the Qitian about the shadowless saber sovereign, even if the Qitian could not guess it, he would be suspicious. However, the two both believed that since Emperor Forsaken did not find anything wrong with the shadowless saber sovereign, there was no need to worry about this matter. "Why are you here? You did not chase after the shadowless saber sovereign?" The white tiger Holy Lord suddenly thought of this matter and asked, "You didn't let the shadowless saber sovereign escape, right?" The black tortoise Xing Zhou shook his head and said, "He was delayed by an iron demon. However, the vermilion bird Holy Lord already gave chase. With him making a move, as long as the shadowless saber sovereign is still in the Tianwu domain, he will not be able to escape." Of the three, the vermilion bird Holy Lord was the strongest. If he used his full power, there was really nothing to worry about. In the sky, the vermilion bird Holy Lord closed his eyes. Fiery clouds churned behind him, stretching for tens of thousands of kilometers. After a while, he suddenly opened his eyes and waved his right hand ferociously. Whoosh! The fiery clouds surged like waves, and thousands of small flaming birds shot out from them. They shot out in all directions like arrows. Upon closer inspection, each flaming bird was a miniature version of a vermilion bird. They were astonishingly fast. More importantly, they covered the sky and covered the ground, covering all directions. Xiao Chen, who had just flown out of the savage battlefield, suddenly saw the vermilion birds flying past him. His expression immediately changed. After much difficulty, he had managed to shake off the pursuit of the 6 supreme elders. However, the vermilion bird Holy Lord discovered him. Now that he had used his saber energy and sharp spirit finger, it would be very difficult for him to escape from the hands of the vermilion bird Holy Lord just by relying on the flawless saber technique. "Quickly leave. I'll help you block the 3 holy masters." Brat, you really hid it from me. Live well. I will continue to help you hide the identity of the shadowless saber sovereign. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. Joy appeared on Xiao Chen's face. He knew that he was saved. That was right. The person who came was the Haotian sex Ing Zongtian. However, Ing Zongtian did not appear before Xiao Chen. He only sent a voice projection to prevent others from suspecting him. In the savage battlefield, the vermilion bird Holy Lord smiled faintly and waved his hand to scatter the thick fiery clouds. Let's see where you can run to. Ing Zongtian formed hand seals with both hands and gave off boundless holy light. The flames on his body started to burn. After Ing Zongtian finished forming the hand seals, his body turned into a huge vermilion bird. This vermilion bird was more than 3 kilometers long. When it spread its wings, they covered the sky and sun. Whoosh! The huge wings flapped ferociously, and the vermilion bird instantly flew over the savage battlefield. The vermilion bird moved incredibly fast. Everywhere it passed, it left behind a long flaming tail that traversed the entire sky. Dang! Just as this huge vermilion bird moved like it was teleporting, continuously accelerating at lightning speed, the vermilion bird crashed into an invisible wall. He crashed into an invisible wall, causing the entire sky to tremble violently. Boundless flames scattered from the vermilion bird's body, turning into a rain of fire that fell to the ground. Whoosh! The flaming bird appeared. The vermilion bird Holy Lord paled, and said in an extremely furious tone, Ing Zongtian, don't stop me from doing proper business. A light flashed, and Ing Zongtian appeared expressionlessly. He said coldly, Vermilion bird Holy Lord, if you want to kill the shadowless saber sovereign, that is your problem. I don't care. Don't make a move in my Tianwu domain. This Tianwu domain belongs to the Bushan Palace, not your deity Dao Union. Give me a reason. Otherwise, the deity Dao Union will not let this matter rest. The vermilion bird Holy Lord said through clenched teeth. Ing Zongtian laughed loudly and said, I never need a reason to do things. You are not leaving? That's fine. I have not fought with you for 5 years, and my hands are itching. Seeing that Ing Zongtian was about to make a move, the vermilion bird Holy Lord retreated quickly. The 3 holy masters worked together and barely managed to fight to a draw with Ing Zongtian. How could the vermilion bird dare to fight Ing Zongtian alone? You want to leave? It's too late. Ing Zongtian smiled coldly and gave chase. He had already made up his mind to teach the 3 holy masters a lesson. At the same time, he could divert the deity Dao Union's attention from the shadowless saber sovereign to himself. Xiao Chen, who was fortunate enough to escape, still could not understand why the Iron Demon came to help him. If not for the Iron Demon's sudden appearance, Xiao Chen would not have been able to leave the savage battlefield unscathed. Could the fortuitous encounter that the Iron Demon spoke of be because of that mysterious lake? After thinking about it, Xiao Chen concluded that this was the only reason. However, this was not the time to think about this. He had to leave the Tianwu domain first. As long as he was in the Tianwu domain, he would not feel safe. The cycle throne turned into a war chariot and carried Xiao Chen forward. Inside the war chariot, Xiao Chen thought about the earlier battle, feeling heavy pressure. When facing the Holy Lord, Xiao Chen was truly helpless. He could only use some of his trump cards and rely on luck to escape. If Xiao Chen faced the White Tiger Holy Lord again and the other party wanted to, he would find it hard to escape, not to mention injuring him. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen lacked a trump card that could threaten the Holy Lord or even a prime. Originally, Dermic World should have been a good trump card. However, once he used it, he would have to expose his identity. Using the sharp spirit finger was very risky. He did not know if he could hide it from the other party. Xiao Chen needed a new trump card. However, the Holy Lord was different from regular Ninth Heaven Martial Emperors. He was a peak existence like Emperor Wu, only a step away from Prime. Being a half-step prime was already a major character at the peak of the Kunlun realm, standing at the peak. Only a few primes could surpass them. Obtaining a trump card that could threaten the Holy Lord was easier said than done. Suddenly, Xiao Chen saw the cycle war chariot in a city below slowly turn around. That was Hunluo Province's Hunluo City. This was a city that Xiao Chen had a deep impression of when he came out of Heavenly Star Island 3 years ago. After making a trip to the Bloody Cemetery, Xiao Chen rushed to Hunluo Province's Eternal Heavenly Sword School. Unfortunately, he turned the Eternal Heavenly Sword School upside down. Although Xiao Chen found some clues, he could not find Xie Changtian, who sneak-attacked the Thunder King Sangmu back then. All the clues pointed to a place where Xie Changtian went, the Penglai Sea. Back then, a Penglai Sea Immortal Venerate helped Xie Changtian refine the medicinal pill that he used to extend his lifespan. This showed that this Xie Changtian had a deep relationship with the major characters of the Penglai Sea. However, Xiao Chen did not know if the Penglai Sea's people participated in the matter back then. Xiao Chen wanted to make a trip to the Penglai Sea. However, he did not know the right way and could not enter at all. Xiao Chen could only put this matter aside for now. However, putting it aside did not mean that Xiao Chen forgot about it. One day, he would charge into the Penglai Sea and drag Xie Changtian out. Xiao Chen would not let off anyone who participated in the sneak attack on the Thunder King back then. Revisiting an old place, Xiao Chen paused for a moment before preparing to leave. He wanted to go to the oceanic world and enter the Mirage Immortal Palace, one of the 8 great forbidden lands, to search for the cycle art. The Mirage Immortal Palace was the most mysterious forbidden land. Although it appeared during the Golden Age, it was still very difficult to enter. Just at this moment, Xiao Chen suddenly thought of something. Not far from the Fiend Domain bordering Hunluo Province, there was also a forbidden land called Misleading Fog Lake. Back then, Xiao Chen comprehended his will of thunder there. The divine lightning talisman there had left an incredibly deep impression on him. Coincidentally, his will of thunder had broken through the restrictions and reached the level of the innate thunder crystal. Compared to back then, the difference was like heaven and earth. Could he subdue it? If he could, this divine lightning talisman would be a trump card to deal with the Holy Lord or even a prime. The more Xiao Chen thought about it, the more likely it seemed. So, Xiao Chen changed his direction and headed for the forbidden land of the Fiend Domain outside Hunluo Province, Misleading Fog Lake. While Xiao Chen was in the Fiend Domain, the storm caused by the evil Shadow Sword also came to an end. The battle between the outstanding talents of the Kunlun realm and the 18 demon royal halls of the demonic world also came to an end. No one had expected the shadowless Saber Sovereign to suddenly appear and beat up the deity Dao Union and the demon crown scions. Be it the demon crown scions or the deity Dao Union's outstanding talents, they could not accept such a result. The stage that was originally prepared for them ended up being completely destroyed by the shadowless Saber Sovereign, who suddenly appeared. Furthermore, the destruction was so thorough, not playing by the rules, directly destroying the stage. The shattering of the ice sculpture and the appearance of the shadowless Saber Sovereign was even more dramatic, inconceivable. Although the storm had already come to an end, the lingering effects of this storm would not stop anytime soon. The deity Dao Union had already issued a kill order for the shadowless Saber Sovereign. After the divine Sun Di Wuk got knocked into the air with one saber strike, his prestige suffered significant damage. Some people already started to doubt whether the shadowless Saber Sovereign was the bearer of luck or not. Rumor had it that his power of faith had decreased by 30%. As for the celestial demon crown scion, who was believed to have obtained the evil Shadow Sword, he was in a difficult situation. It was easy to imagine that there would be a good show when he returned to the demonic world. However, these two were not the main characters. After the storm, another wave appeared in the Kunlun realm, a wave of people guessing who the shadowless Saber Sovereign was. In the past 3 years, the shadowless saber sovereign suddenly rose up. He did not touch a saber or leave a shadow, giving him a legendary air. Then, he obtained the Saber Sovereign Medallion and beat up the deity Tao Union and the 18 demon crown scions, turning him into a mythical character. Who was the shadowless Saber Sovereign? From the Kunlun continent to the vast oceanic world, be it the strong or the weak, they all discussed this topic, the mysterious shadowless Saber Sovereign. The more they talked about it, the messier it became. Between the truth and the lies there were all sorts of guesses. However, no one connected this shadowless Saber Sovereign to the Blue Dragon King from 5 years ago. The Blue Dragon King, the white-robed Shao Chen, seemed to have disappeared in the dust of history, drowned out by the surging waves. No one talked about it, and no one was willing to mention it. There were even several people who rose up who had no impression of him at all. 4 days later, Shao Chen followed the route in his memory and arrived at Misleading Fog Lake. Misleading Fog Lake was a famous forbidden land in the Fiend domain. However, it was shrouded in fog. Even primes did not dare to enter it. Furthermore, no one knew what was in there. Over the years, everyone was willing to come here and risk their lives. The effort was not proportional to the gain, so it was reasonable to have such an outcome. Returning to his old place, Shao Chen could not help taking out the lunar shadow saber and fiddling with it as he sat on the throne. When Shao Chen first came, it was little Ao Jiao who led the way. Now, he did not know when Ao Jiao would wake up. Or rather, when would Shao Chen remove his mask and walk out of the knot in his heart, letting the lunar shadow saber truly recognize him as the Blue Dragon King, Shao Chen, and not some shadowless saber sovereign? Memories always made one sigh. While Shao Chen cherished the past, he did not like to be sentimental. He was not willing to let these emotions linger for too long. After fiddling with it for a while, he put away the lunar shadow saber. With a thought, the innate thunder crystal on Shao Chen's forehead flew out. Shao Chen's innate thunder crystal still looked like a talisman, looking no different from before. However, when he held it in his hand, he could clearly feel that it was very different. This was a real thing, an object that truly existed in the world and not a talisman made of energy. The moment the talisman appeared, the lightning-attributed energy in the surrounding 50 kilometers started trembling for some reason. Sparks flickered endlessly in the air, crackling like they were bowing to the talisman. Shao Chen stretched out his hand and pointed. The lightning talisman entered the heavy fog above the lake. Shao Chen did not worry about getting lost. His talisman was a copy of the divine lightning at the bottom of the lake. There would always be an indistinct connection between the two. When Shao Chen arrived at the top of the lake, this feeling became even stronger and clearer. As long as he followed this feeling, he would be able to reach the center of the lake. After entering the depths of the lake, Shao Chen lost his 5 senses. Even his spiritual sense lost its function. What he thought was left was actually right. What he thought was left was actually right. What he thought was forward was actually backward. Even at his current cultivation, it could still affect his 5 senses. Shao Chen's interest in the divine lightning at the center of the lake intensified. Whoosh! After some time, the scene before Shao Chen suddenly changed, turning into a golden world. Not only was the lake water under his feet golden, but the surrounding air, the clouds, and the sky were also pure golden. Shao Chen remembered that when he first came here, he could not open his eyes, they were dazzled. This time, he could calmly take in his surroundings. However, Shao Chen did not look at that. He stared at the center of the lake, at that clump of golden electric light. This electric light contained the legendary divine lightning. Chapter 1438. There was a golden sea, a golden sky, and a clump of lightning flickering with a golden light. Everything was as familiar as it was in the past. Many years ago, Shao Chen obtained only a trace of lightning from the clump of lightning and comprehended the will of thunder. At that time, Shao Chen probably would not have imagined that he would stand here in his lifetime, thinking about how to subdue the divine lightning. 2,000 years ago, the Thunder King Sang-mu, who went even further on the Thunder Dao, failed to subdue this divine lightning. Now, Shao Chen was far from the Thunder King Sang-mu at his peak. However, he should be about the same as Sang-mu before he broke through to Sovereign Martial Emperor. Shao Chen remembered Ao Jiao saying that the Thunder King was like Ying Zongtian, having undergone 3 lightning tribulations before gaining the strength of a prime. After that, Shao Chen immediately went to challenge the Thunder King. Logically speaking, the Thunder King should not have come here when he was at his peak. That was to say, given the Thunder King Sang-mu's strength at his peak, he might have been able to subdue this divine lightning. He just did not come. This was good news. At the very least, it would not pressure Shao Chen. If the Thunder King could not subdue this divine lightning even when he was at his peak, the pressure in his heart would be extraordinary. Compared to the Thunder King, Shao Chen had 2 advantages. One was that he dual cultivated immortal cultivation and knew some immortal method. Furthermore, this divine lightning was clearly left behind by a major character during the immortal epoch. As for the second advantage, it was a passive one. In his previous life, he was the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. He was the strongest of the 3,000 Immortal Lords, the most mysterious Immortal Lord of the Immortal Epoch. At the same time, he was the last Immortal of the Immortal Epoch. Even though those immortal kings and immortal ancestors all fell and disappeared, he still survived until the end. The second advantage sounded scary. However, in reality, Shao Chen did not know whether it would be useful or not. Furthermore, he did not know how to use it. Hence, it could only be considered a passive advantage. Previously, Shao Chen used his spiritual sense to enter this electric light. This time, if he wanted to completely subdue the divine lightning, he would not be able to rely on his spiritual sense alone. However, it was unavoidable to use his divine sense to explore the road first. Seated on the throne, Shao Chen flicked his finger and tore a hole in the ball of lightning. As the hole closed, Shao Chen's spiritual sense quickly entered it. Compared to the ball of light outside, which was only the size of a human head, the space inside was truly boundless, as if it was the size of a small world. Even at his current cultivation realm, Shao Chen still could not suppress the excitement in his heart. He really wondered how powerful the master of the divine lightning was when he was alive. The center of this world was surrounded by countless golden lightning dragons. In the pitch-black space, the golden dragons were extremely dazzling. Lightning flashed in the air from time to time. Even though Shao Chen's divine sense was very cautious, it still couldn't reach the depths before it was extinguished by the random lightning. After a few more attempts, Shao Chen made up his mind to enter the world of lightning with his main body. The divine lightning formed a world of its own. It would be difficult for the main body to enter it. Looking at that human head-sized ball of lightning, Shao Chen's main body would definitely not be able to enter. He had to think of a way. After circling the ball of lightning a few times, Shao Chen was at his wits' end. If only Ao Jiao were here. She would definitely have a way, Shao Chen thought to himself as he looked at the lunar shadow saber in his hand. Whoosh! As Shao Chen thought this, the lunar shadow saber suddenly left his hand and flew towards the ball of lightning. Even with the scabbard attached, the might of the lunar shadow saber was still extraordinary. It shattered the ball of lightning with a loud boom. The instant the ball of lightning shattered, a void door appeared, looking like a screen of water. After the lunar shadow saber did all this, it returned to Shao Chen's hand. He looked at this scene in disbelief. Shao Chen had not expected the problem that plagued him to be so simple. Ao Jiao, since she understands me, why is she not willing to see me? Shao Chen grasped the scabbard tightly. His heart ached slightly, not because of Ao Jiao but because of himself. However, this emotion only lasted for a moment before Shao Chen forcefully interrupted it. Then, he shifted his gaze to the void door. A rainbow light flashed, and the cycle throne turned into a beam of light and entered the door. Whoosh! The scene before Xiao Chen changed again. When his true body entered, the feeling was very different from when he entered with his spiritual sense. This was a pitch-black void world that was astonishingly vast. The pressure from the divine lightning in the center made breathing difficult. The might of the divine lightning suppressed the depths of Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. When facing that divine lightning, Xiao Chen felt a sense of inferiority in his heart and could not be profaned. The sudden pressure startled Xiao Chen. Before he even got close to the divine lightning, he already felt inferior. How could he subdue this divine lightning? I should not. Xiao Chen closed his eyes tightly. His dermic incarnation stabbed its saber into the ground in the depths of Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. It knelt on one knee, enduring the huge pressure. Stand up! Stand up! Xiao Chen gathered all his willpower and drove the Emperor's will in his entire body. Then, he controlled the dermic incarnation to slowly resist the might of the divine lightning. Under Xiao Chen's hard work, the dermic incarnation slowly stood up in the depths of Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. Finally, it roared ferociously and swung its saber. Ka-xie! Ka-xie! Cracking sounds came from the void of Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. That was the formless might of the divine lightning. After the might of the divine lightning broke, Xiao Chen immediately felt much better. As he sat on the throne, the might of a sovereign encircled his entire body. This allowed Xiao Chen to maintain a neutral attitude before the divine lightning. His strong aura continuously clashed with the might of the divine lightning. Let's go! Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and controlled the throne to fly quickly towards the place where the thousands of golden lightning dragons circled. Xiao Chen was clearly flying forward. However, it gave him the feeling that he was continuously falling. Pu-ci! A bolt of lightning appeared out of nowhere, charging at Xiao Chen. Pride drew its scabbard and swung its saber, extinguishing this lightning bolt. As Xiao Chen descended, the 7 divine weapons continuously drew out their scabbards and surrounded the cycle throne, protecting Xiao Chen impenetrably. In the pitch-black world, Xiao Chen slowly approached the center of the world of lightning with a boundless saber light. How foolish! This lightning is born from the divine lightning. My innate thunder crystal just condensed, and it has not even reached small perfection yet. It hasn't even reached the minor accomplishment realm, so it's the best time to absorb the lightning. Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought of this and quickly removed the 7 divine weapons. His forehead flickered, and a purple talisman shot out. Whoosh! Another bolt of lightning flew over. Xiao Chen did not block it. Instead, he held the talisman in front of him. The lightning entered the purple talisman with a whoosh. After a flash of light, the purple talisman darkened somewhat. There's hope. Upon seeing this faint change, Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. For the rest of the journey, he let the innate thunder crystal absorb the lightning that flew around. 4 hours later, the originally plain purple talisman started to give off a faint light. The lightning patterns on the talisman were like flowing water, slowly rolling. Such a change was truly joyous. Xiao Chen did not cultivate much with the innate thunder crystal. After wandering around in this space for a while, he had actually reached the minor accomplishment realm. At this speed, my innate thunder crystal will probably reach great perfection when I approach the central divine lightning. Xiao Chen thought to himself, even if I cannot obtain the divine lightning on this trip, I will have profited greatly. Based on normal cultivation time, Xiao Chen would need at least 2 years to cultivate the innate thunder crystal to great perfection. Time passed slowly. Xiao Chen approached the center of the world of lightning. Tens of thousands of true dragons of thunder and lightning could be clearly seen with his naked eyes. There were simply too many golden lightning dragons. They layered over each other, preventing him from seeing the true appearance of the divine lightning. Could it be that I have to destroy all of these golden lightning dragons before I can see the divine lightning? With this thought, Xiao Chen could not help feeling despair. Even if he had 100 years, he would not be able to destroy all of these thousands of golden lightning dragons. Whoosh! Just as Shao Chen despaired, the thousands of lightning dragons, which originally formed a sphere, flew out continuously. Like spinning silk from a cocoon, the lightning dragons opened layer by layer. With each layer opened, the golden light became increasingly dazzling. Boundless electric light flew over. Shao Chen had no choice but to use his sleeves to block his eyes. What's going on? While Shao Chen felt bewildered, he suddenly felt an incredibly intense light. It felt like the light penetrated his body. Shao Chen let go and pulled down his sleeves. Then, he saw the most intense light he had ever seen in his life. Then, he watched as the innate thunder crystal, which was almost at great perfection, melted like snow under this intense light. Sky Dome Immortal Lord, in the end you still came. There was no time for Shao Chen to grieve. A sonorous and forceful voice came from the boundless light. As the voice spoke, the light flickered like a clump of fire. Before that intense light, the great perfection innate thunder crystal directly melted. In an instant, Shao Chen felt his sense of dominance over lightning vanish. Not only that, but even his will of thunder was gone, starting from zero. This was the feeling of his heart bleeding. 1 moment earlier, Shao Chen was still immersed in the joy of his great perfection will of thunder. In the next moment, he felt like he had fallen from the clouds to the bottom of the valley. It was not like he had fallen from the clouds into a deep pit, smashing his bones and scattering his ashes, leaving nothing behind. However, all this did not have time to shock Shao Chen. The words that came from that light completely stunned Shao Chen. Shao Chen wanted to look directly at that light. However, he discovered that his eyes could not accept this light at all. He could only turn his head. Even though he was looking at the side, he still felt a piercing pain in his eyes. Sky Dome Immortal Lord, why are you not speaking? 1 million years? 2 million years? How long? I can't even remember. A long time ago, when the Immortal King asked you if you had a way to save the Immortal Court, you were as silent as today. As the light flickered, Shao Chen had no choice but to close his eyes. However, he still felt the intense light piercing his eyes. Only then did Shao Chen understand that the reason he could not look directly at this light was not just a matter of strength. There was also a kind of might in this light, the might of someone in a superior position, preventing Shao Chen from looking directly at it. When the divine lightning appeared, Shao Chen could only see a flash of light, flashing here and there until he could not speak. Even though Shao Chen did not say anything, the mysterious existence in the light treated it as silence. The mysterious existence continued, "You are far stronger than an immortal king. However, you are not an immortal king or an immortal ancestor, just an insignificant immortal lord. I did not understand in the past, but I do now. You actually divined the end of the immortal epoch long ago, right? Right." When the mysterious existence in the light said the last 3 words, it appeared enraged. Shao Chen could hear thunder roaring endlessly, accompanied by the flashing light. Shao Chen, who had just prepared to say something, was forced to swallow back his words. This sound tortured him to the point of hovering between life and death. The flashing light made his entire body ache. "You are always so indifferent. Ha! It has been millions of years, but you are still the same. You have watched countless immortals fall, watched the heavenly court shatter, watched the 6 paths of reincarnation shatter, but you are still calm. You have watched me, the thunder immortal ancestor, in such a sorry state, yet you remain silent. Tell me, you have the ability to pluck the stars and the moon, to defy the heavens and change fate, to overturn the universe. Why are you not saying anything when an immortal king asks you?" After the mysterious existence in the light spoke excitedly for a while, it started coughing violently. The intense light gradually grew weaker. Shao Chen's heart pounded. He had long guessed that this divine lightning had something to do with the immortal epoch. However, He had not expected the master of the divine lightning to be the immortal ancestor of the immortal epoch. Below the immortal king were the 8 immortal ancestors. During the immortal epoch, this thunder immortal ancestor was definitely a supreme existence. This simply surpassed Shao Chen's expectations. Earlier, he had been thinking about how to subdue this divine lightning. If he had known, he would not have had this thought. Given Shao Chen's strength, he could not even look directly at this divine lightning, much less subdue it. That's not right. Shao Chen discovered something strange. The light grew increasingly weaker. The mysterious existence's aura and might continuously declined. Slowly, Shao Chen discovered that he could open his eyes. However, when he turned his head, he still found it piercing. Senior, I am not the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. More accurately, I am just the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's reincarnation. After feeling that there was no pressure to speak, Shao Chen opened his eyes. Fearing that the mysterious existence would start talking again, he directly said what he wanted to say in one breath. Reincarnation. The mysterious existence in the light stopped coughing. Suddenly, its voice turned deep and sorrowful. I thought that he could escape. It turns out that he died as well. Earlier, the mysterious existence's words had contained boundless resentment for the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. However, when the mysterious existence heard that the Sky Dome Immortal Lord was already dead, all its resentment vanished, turning into a kind of speechless sorrow. It turns out that you died as well. Shao Chen's final hope was gone. There was no one left to complain about. After waiting for millions of years, this was the result he got. The immortal epoch was truly over. There was no one left alive. The light slowly retracted, and the powerful divine lightning revealed itself. With a whoosh, it arrived before Shao Chen. Now, Shao Chen finally saw it clearly. It was a divine lightning talisman made from some unknown golden divine material. Only now did he discover that the talisman he copied did not resemble it at all. An illusory figure appeared behind the divine lightning talisman. This figure looked at Shao Chen and said indifferently, "In that case, why are you here? Do you know the consequences of me opening the 10,000 dragon cloud locking formation for you?" Shao Chen braced himself and answered honestly, "I came here many years ago. This time, I want to subdue the talisman in your hand. Previously, I thought that it was an ownerless item. Now that it has a master, naturally, I no longer have such thought." "With just you?" The illusory figure smiled coldly, his tone somewhat arrogant. "With just you, you want to subdue the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning?" During the immortal epoch, this talisman was the master of all the tribulation lightning in the world. Even immortal kings could not grasp it. Shao Chen whispered, "Now, it is the martial epoch. This talisman's status as the master of tribulation lightning definitely no longer exists. Even so, you cannot subdue it." The thunder immortal ancestor answered without even thinking, appearing very arrogant. Shao Chen no longer had such thoughts. He said directly, "Naturally, I have already given up on this thought. However, Senior, you destroyed my innate thunder crystal for no reason. You can't just let me go like that, right? Are you saying that you made a mistake with the talisman that copied the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning? I was not the one who destroyed it? It was you who was not skilled enough. The formation you copied was not stable and did not even have 30% of its charm. After you saw the true body, it disintegrated on its own. It has nothing to do with me." With just one sentence, the thunder immortal ancestor pushed all responsibility away, showing no intention of taking responsibility at all. "Very well, then. This junior will leave now." Shao Chen felt very depressed in his heart. However, he could only suffer in silence. "Who said you can leave? This immortal ancestor has not even subdued you yet. How can I let you go?" When Shao Chen heard that, his expression changed drastically. He quickly stepped back and asked, "What are you trying to do?" "Ah, brat, remember this. It was this immortal ancestor who used the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning to subdue you. It was not you who subdued me. A golden lightning dragon swam over and surrounded Shao Chen, preventing him from moving. The thunder immortal ancestor laughed loudly. Then, he tapped Shao Chen's forehead and a drop of blood dripped out. Using the blood as a medium, the thunder immortal ancestor quickly drew out a talisman and stuck it on Shao Chen's body. Buzz! Immediately, Shao Chen's body solidified. He felt like he had turned into a metal statue. Brat, you are really bold. You want to subdue the divine lightning with such a weak body? Even if I am not here, the divine lightning can instantly blast you into ashes when it enters your body. At this moment, Shao Chen felt like his blood had stopped flowing. His body had strengthened countless times. Remember, it was this immortal ancestor who subdued you. It was not you who subdued this immortal ancestor. The thunder immortal ancestor emphasized once more. The 10,000 tribulation divine lightning in his hand flashed and entered Shao Chen's sea of consciousness. The thunder immortal ancestor spun rapidly as boundless lightning power spread out and entered every cell in his body. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of Shao Chen's body as if it was about to shatter. Fortunately, this did not last for long before it stabilized. As that talisman spun continuously, Shao Chen's thunder Dao soared. From nothing to something. State of thunder, will of thunder, innate thunder crystal. Innate thunder crystal small perfection, innate thunder crystal great perfection, innate thunder crystal consummation, all the way until Shao Chen comprehended the thunder domain before stopping. How unfortunate! This is a great treasure, but your physical body cannot bring out its full potential. Never mind. I will teach you a supreme magic skill, the divine lightning eye. With just one glance, you can send down a lightning tribulation and decide your life and death. The thunder immortal ancestor tapped Shao Chen's forehead with his finger, and boundless information poured into Shao Chen's mind. The thunder immortal ancestor's figure grew increasingly weaker. However, the smile on his face grew wider. Ha! Being able to subdue the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's reincarnation before my death is something to be happy about. Brat, I subdued you. The thunder immortal ancestor laughed loudly, feeling incredibly carefree. However, Shao Chen only saw grief in this laughter. But what he saw was only sorrow, a sorrow that had remained for millions of years without dissolving. The thunder immortal ancestor's figure grew increasingly weaker until it vanished completely. However, the thousands of golden lightning attributed dragons still remained, as if they were maintaining a certain formation, moving about in the pitch-black space. The scarlet talisman on Shao Chen's forehead scattered, and he regained control of his body. He no longer felt like a metal statue. Pain. After Shao Chen's numb body recovered, all sorts of pain surged into his head like thousands of ants. Indeed, it was as the thunder immortal ancestor said. With him making a move, this pain was still unforgettable. If the thunder immortal ancestor had not made a move, the consequences would have been dire. Shao Chen's previous thoughts were still somewhat lacking. Saying that it was lacking was just to console himself. More accurately, it was somewhat delusional. After the pain passed, Shao Chen felt fatigued. His mind fatigued as well. The thunder immortal ancestor's final smile kept appearing in his mind. The thunder immortal ancestor was clearly smiling, but his smile was so sorrowful that even Shao Chen's mood sank. Most of the time, Shao Chen and the thunder immortal ancestor were very similar. The thunder immortal ancestor rarely smiled, always so calm and collected. He gave off a feeling of neither joy nor sorrow, unfathomable and unapproachable. Shao Chen could not be blamed. This world was too hypocritical. Only those who knew how to smile would live to the end. However, Shao Chen really did not. Even if he occasionally smiled, it could not dispel the sorrow on his face. No matter how gentle a heart was, it would only give others a cold mask, unapproachable. Shao Chen thought back to the past. The time when he felt the least apprehensive was where his dream began, that small city called Mo. However, the happiest time of his life was when he learned the saber at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qinyun Peak. There was also the person who taught him the saber. Now, Xiao Chen finally understood why Pan Huang gave him a different feeling among the many saber sovereign statues in Pan Huang Hall. It was the smile on Pan Huang's face. That was a smile that came from his heart, an unbridled and unruly smile. As Xiao Chen's thoughts ran wild, he became increasingly sleepy and fatigued. As he thought about it, he fell into a deep sleep. While Xiao Chen slept, misleading Fog Lake underwent a startling change. The fog that had been lingering above the lake for a long time actually scattered. Once this matter was discovered, it spread like wildfire throughout the entire Fiend domain. Even a supreme martial artist like the Spirit Fox King was alarmed. The clan leaders of the various demon clans all came over one after another. Unexpectedly, there was nothing in misleading Fog Lake. Even the Fox King wandered around. He used his mental energy, not even letting go of a single speck of sand. Even so, he did not find anything strange. The more this was so, the stranger it was. There had to be a supreme treasure in misleading Fog Lake. Why was nothing to be found even after the fog scattered? It could only be that the supreme treasure had already been snatched away by someone else. There were also some fiend race powerhouses who did not give up and wandered around the lake endlessly. After a long time, no one discovered anything, so the commotion died down. This matter was treated as a strange thing, spreading everywhere in the fiend domain. When the news reached the oceanic world and the heavenly starry ocean, the mysterious treasure master soon learned of it. Speaking of this treasure master, he was truly mysterious and unfathomable, even stranger than the shadowless saber sovereign. The treasure master controlled all the sea markets of the heavenly starry ocean. Every sea market was built around a huge immortal statue. He was the wealthiest person in the heavenly starry ocean. Many people were envious, but the treasure master was still alive and well. Even after offending Emperor Forsaken 5 years ago, he still lived a free and unfettered life. According to rumor, Emperor Forsaken's true body once descended into the heavenly starry ocean and fought a huge battle with the treasure master. Only a few Peak Emperor Wu knew about that battle. The results were unknown. It was only known that after that, Emperor Forsaken never came to the heavenly starry ocean again. As for the treasure master, he continued to live in a low-profile manner. Interesting. I thought that he could hold on for a while longer. That's not right. Logically speaking, it should not have scattered so quickly. When the treasure master obtained the news, he muttered to himself, not understanding what was going on. Black fog surrounded the treasure master, and a black lotus flower flickered under his feet, looking extremely strange. There was a terrifying and sinister saber scar on his aged face, looking like a centipede lying there. Logically speaking, Emperor Wu should have been able to think of ways to erase all the scars, no matter what they were. However, the saber scar on the treasure master's face felt like it had been there for a long time, like it would remain there forever. It looks like I have to make a trip to the Penglai Sea. The black lotus under Xiao Chen's feet bloomed, giving off a bright light. When the light faded, the treasure master vanished from where he was. Naturally, Xiao Chen did not know about all this. He had just woken up. The instant he opened his eyes, he felt refreshed and indescribably comfortable. Indeed, I feel much better after I wake up. Xiao Chen mocked himself. Then, he started to check the divine lightning talisman in his sea of consciousness. The Thunder Immortal Ancestor was known as the 10,000 Tribulation Divine Lightning, the ancestor of all lightning tribulations. This divine lightning talisman hovered quietly in the air in his sea of consciousness. It replaced the original position of the innate thunder crystal, dyeing the entire sea of consciousness golden. Xiao Chen felt that the magic energy in his sea of consciousness had become denser and denser under the cleansing of this talisman. This is good. However, in the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen discovered something sorrowful. He could not control this divine lightning talisman at all. In fact, he could not even move it. In the past, he could control the innate thunder crystal as he pleased. When Xiao Chen spread out his thunder domain, he felt the energy in the talisman continuously draining. However, that feeling was like taking water from the sea. Xiao Chen did his best to expand the thunder domain continuously. Even so, he could not use even 1,000th or even 1/10,000th of the divine lightning's power. As Xiao Chen looked at the thunder domain spanning 10 kilometers, he felt somewhat conflicted. This was the limit of what he could do now. It was not just his physical body. Xiao Chen's cultivation and experience all limited him from bringing out the might of the divine lightning. Divine lightning eye. Suddenly, Xiao Chen recalled that before the Thunder Immortal ancestor died, he left behind a supreme magic skill for Xiao Chen to bring out the might of the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning. The Immortal epic used immortal arts as its foundation. Above immortal arts were magic skills. Magic skills were divided into minor magic skills, major magic skills, and supreme magic skills. The Dharmic world that the Mahasvara Buddha gave Xiao Chen was one of the major magic skills of the Buddhist school. The moment Xiao Chen thought of the divine lightning eye, a lot of information poured into his mind. It was like someone was whispering in his ear, explaining the various mysteries of the divine lightning eye. Xiao Chen quickly closed his eyes and listened carefully, experiencing it bit by bit. The divine lightning eye was one of the Thunder Immortal ancestors' supreme magic skills. The core was the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning. Without the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning or a comparable divine lightning, one would not be able to successfully execute it. It was like how even the cleverest housewife could not cook without rice. No matter how skilled one was, one would not be able to execute it. The 10,000 tribulation divine lightning was just the most basic step. There were still many mysteries after that. During the Immortal epic, immortal cultivators had to experience the 3 calamities and 9 tribulations. After that, there were also heavenly tribulations. Furthermore, all the lightning tribulations came from the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning. The lightning tribulation ancestral talisman was not an exaggeration at all. The divine lightning eye was such a supreme magic skill that sent down lightning tribulations. It was activated with the naked eye. The process was similar to an eye technique. After one cultivated it, one's eyes flickered, and they could send down the might of a lightning tribulation. There was no chance to dodge within one's vision. It was extremely horrifying. The divine lightning eye had a total of 10 layers. The first layer could send down only 1 lightning tribulation. The second layer could send down 2 lightning tribulations at the same time. The third layer could stack the first 2 layers, sending down 3 lightning tribulations. It did not look like much of a change. However, the fourth layer was heaven-defying. It could stack the first 3 layers, sending down 6 lightning tribulations. The fifth layer had 12 lightning tribulations. At the 9th layer, it could stack layers, sending down 182 lightning tribulations at the same time. As for the 10th layer, it could completely unleash the might of the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning without holding anything back. After Xiao Chen finished comprehending, he opened his eyes, which filled with shock. He finally knew what a supreme magic skill was. Supreme was something that could not be surpassed. Emperor Wu had 9 layers of heaven. With each breakthrough, he had to undergo a lightning tribulation. However, this lightning tribulation had blocked countless people. If Xiao Chen cultivated this divine lightning eye, he would be able to send down a lightning tribulation himself. Just thinking about it filled him with anticipation. The divine lightning eye could determine life and death with one look. This was not a lie. However, Xiao Chen did not know if there would be any problems cultivating it. Given his current cultivation, how many layers could he cultivate it to? After comprehending for a while, Shao Chun started to try cultivating this supreme magic skill, the Divine Lightning Eye. After trying it out, he discovered that it was exceptionally smooth, much smoother than cultivating Dermic World. On further thought, the reason might be that the Thunder Immortal ancestor directly imparted this magic skill to Shao Chun. Not only did the Thunder Immortal ancestor teach Shao Chun the method to cultivate the magic skill, but he also completely passed on his magic skill to Shao Chun. Even so, as for how many layers he could cultivate it to, it still depended on Shao Chun in the end. The Thunder Immortal ancestor only allowed Shao Chun to get started, reducing the hurdle and not making any detours. After all, even if one knew the method to cultivate a regular supreme magic skill, it would take at least 10 years to cultivate it. Of course, to immortals with long lifespans who had jumped out of the cycle of reincarnation, 10 years was just a flick of a finger. After cultivating in seclusion for half a month in the pitch-black space, Shao Chun was finally confident of successfully executing this supreme magic skill after a few experiments. I wonder how strong it is. With some anticipation, Shao Chun formed hand seals with both hands, and magic energy surged in his sea of consciousness, condensing into flickering talisman seals that filled the sky like snow and entered the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning. When Shao Chun finished forming the final hand seal, all the talisman seals in his sea of consciousness entered the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning. Immediately, the originally motionless 10,000 tribulation divine lightning started spinning, radiating a boundless light. Shao Chun's right eye felt like it was swelling up intensely. He saw countless flickering lightning bolts of all sorts, shocking lightning tribulations. Thousands of lightning tribulations appeared before Shao Chun's eyes before he could react. A lightning tribulation turned into a seed and fell into his eye. The seed sprouted and buried itself deep in his eye. The boundless magic energy in his sea of consciousness was like nourishment, gathering in his eye. It was like a huge whirlpool instantly sucking up all of Shao Chun's magic energy. That was not enough. The 1,000 strands of primordial energy in his heart of an emperor turned into beams of light that flowed into his eye. After consuming another 300 strands of primordial energy, Shao Chun heard a crisp sound as though something was breaking out of the ground. Whoosh! The lightning tribulation seed broke out of the ground and bloomed. In the instant that the flower bloomed, a black flower with 9 petals could be seen spinning rapidly in the naked eye. On the throne, Shao Chun's clothes fluttered without any wind. His black hair fluttered. At this moment, he merged with the sky. Shao Chun turned into the lightning immortal ancestor. A strong aura surged out, making one feel suffocated and painful. Behind the suffocating aura, the seed of fear sprouted in one's heart. Lightning tribulations symbolized the punishment of the heavenly Tao. All cultivators instinctively feared lightning tribulations. After the flower bloomed and bore fruit, the 9 petals merged and turned into a spot of cold light that merged into the depths of his eye. In that instant, Shao Chun felt a horrifying energy in his right eye. If he were not careful, this energy would explode and shatter all his bones. Vent. I need to vent this energy. Otherwise, I will be the one to die. A wild beast roared in Shao Chun's heart. He locked on to the space in front of him, and there was a loud rumble. That spot burst out with intense electric light, looking resplendent and dazzling in the pitch-black space. The golden lightning dragons in the surroundings all felt fear spreading out, causing them to tremble. Bang! 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 A huge bolt of electric light struck that spot in the air. Explosions rang out continuously. The might of the lightning tribulation kicked up a strong wind. The cycle throne was blown back continuously. Space shattered, turning into countless cracks that extended out continuously. The entire world of thunder seemed to start crumbling. In the next moment, the spot that the lightning tribulation struck could not vent its energy. Boom! It turned into a bright electric light radiating throughout the entire world of thunder. The small world, which was on the verge of collapse, completely crumbled under such a strike. This triggered an intense chain reaction. Thousands of golden lightning dragons exploded one after another. Golden electric light soared up from the bottom of the lake, vaporizing the lake water like sharp swords stabbing into the sky. At this moment it was nighttime. The electric light shooting out from the bottom of the lake could be seen even from millions of kilometers away. This was just the beginning. Following that, all the lightning dragons exploded. The entire vast misleading fog lake and the ground within 500,000 kilometers instantly collapsed, sinking in. The bewilderment fog lake had disappeared, and the ground was split into pieces. The entire landscape had been completely changed, and everything was desolate. After getting knocked back, Xiao Qin vomited a mouthful of blood. His eardrums buzzed, and he went temporarily deaf, unable to hear anything. Cracks appeared in Xiao Qian's internal organs from the thunder, inflicting incredible pain. The faint might of the lightning tribulation had yet to fade, spreading out in the air, crackling endlessly. Xiao Qian felt some lingering fear in his heart. Without even thinking, he quickly left. Soon afterwards, there would be supreme beings who would be alarmed, hurrying over. Xiao Qian simply had not expected such a huge commotion. The might of the divine lightning eye was even more startlingly strong. This was Xiao Qian's first time executing it. There were many areas for improvement. Furthermore, this was just the might of the first layer. If he cultivated it to the second layer would have many lightning tribulations layered over each other. Xiao Qian did not dare to imagine how strong the might that would be. However, a supreme magic skill was a supreme magic skill. After Xiao Qian drained all his magic energy, he still could not execute it. Even a third of his primordial energy was drained. Although this drained a lot of energy, he was satisfied. Compared to some great killing moves, this magic skill was much more powerful. Compared to some great killing moves, the drain was still within a bearable range. At the very least, he could still fight after using it. However, Xiao Qin did not know if there were any other repercussions. As Xiao Qin thought, he suddenly felt some pain in his right eye. He felt some tears coming out. He took off his mask and wiped them away. When he looked, he was greatly startled. How were these tears? They were clearly black blood. This, Xiao Qin felt somewhat puzzled. However, this was not the time to think about this. He wiped away the blood and put on his mask again, turning into a beam of rainbow light and leaving. After Xiao Qin left, the Fox King's true body rushed to misleading Fog Lake. The area within 500,000 kilometers had changed beyond recognition. Misleading Fog Lake's water had all evaporated, no longer existing. Even an existence like the Fox King felt startled, not knowing what happened. The Fox King, what's going on? I feel the entire fiend domain shaking. Whoosh, whoosh. The major characters of the fiend race rushed over one after another. When they saw this scene, they all showed shock on their faces as they asked the Fox King about it. The Fox King said sullenly, "It should be a certain forbidden item suppressed in misleading Fog Lake coming out. However, I did not feel the aura of a prime. There is no need to panic. What's going on with the lightning in the sky? Indeed. To think that there is so much lightning coming from the bottom of the lake. Earlier, we turned this misleading Fog Lake upside down and did not discover anything." The Fox King seemed to have a lot on his mind. He waved his hand and said, "I will personally investigate this matter. There is no need for you all to interfere." Seeing that the Fox King was taking responsibility for this matter, the other fiend race powerhouses did not say anything more. When only the Fox King and the Peacock King remained, the Fox King sighed softly. "Before I came, I saw the Shadowless Saber Sovereign leave the fiend domain." "What? The Shadowless Saber Sovereign?" The Fox King nodded and said, "It is indeed the Shadowless Saber Sovereign. However, Ingzongtian told me earlier to take care of this person, so I did not make a move against him." "What exactly is his identity?" The saber sovereign Wu Xiaotian gave up his saber sovereign medallion for him. Now, even Ing Zongtian wants to protect him. The Fox King replied softly, I don't know. Ing Zongtian did not say. However, since Ing Zongtian spoke, he is a friend and not an enemy. Although I do not know what happened in Misleading Fog Lake, many people are paying attention. I am not the only one who discovered the shadowless saber sovereign. After thinking for a while, the Fox King said, do something to create some chaos and illusions to draw attention away from the shadowless saber sovereign. Leave that to me, the Peacock King answered with a smile. Xiao Chen, who was quickly leaving, did not know that the Fox King had already discovered his existence and helped him hide some of the commotion. The Fox King paused for a while at the ruins of Misleading Fog Lake before leaving. The Mirage Immortal Palace was the most mysterious forbidden land of the 8 great forbidden lands. Normally, one would not be able to find any traces of it, and it rarely appeared. There were simply too many legends about it. Since the ancient era, people had continuously explored this forbidden land. However, the information they obtained was still very little. They only knew that this place should have been a remnant of the immortal epoch. Later, during the immemorial era of the martial epoch, a strong sect occupied this place and established it. After that, this sect got destroyed for some unknown reason. Everything turned to dust, leaving only this Mirage Immortal Palace in the world. Aside from the inheritance of the immemorial era sect, everything from the immortal epoch was perfectly preserved. Immortal pills, profound beasts, immortal arts, magic skills, all sorts of restrictions, and countless fortuitous encounters tempted the cultivators of the later generations to explore this immortal palace. However, not just anyone could explore this ethereal immortal palace. Even if a greater heavenly martial emperor went in, he might be trapped to death. There were too many examples of people never returning, adding a ferocious name to this mysterious immortal palace. After Xiao Chen spent 2 months, he finally rushed over from the Fiend Domain and saw this famous Mirage Immortal Palace. The Immortal Palace was in the depths of the ocean at the end of the sea. One could see it when one raised their head. The sea was very vast. To ordinary people, Qiongqi might not be able to cross it in his lifetime. However, to Emperor Wu, especially someone of Xiao Chen's level, the sea had its end. The end of the sea was the border of the Kunlun continent. The scenery here was very special, the sun never set. When Xiao Chen arrived, he looked up and did indeed see this mysterious Mirage Immortal Palace. At the end of the sea was a dense mist. Amid the mist was a majestic mountain range with an immortal palace hovering in the air. There were towering trees, waterfalls, and flying profound beasts on the mountain range. There were also countless pavilions, terraces, and buildings. One could even see some blurry figures of immortals. As these immortals flew around, they looked like immortals, free and unfettered, showing off their immortal beauty. It was to the extent where one could even smell the immortal energy that was wafting over, and see the strange flowers and fruits that flashed by. However, everyone knew that this was just an illusion, like a mirage. It looked like it was right in front of them, but in reality, they were very far away. Once, Emperor Wu could not resist the temptation and chased after it. In the end, he got lost at the end of the sea, vanishing just like that. Before coming, Xiao Chen had heard a lot about the Mirage Immortal Palace from various sources. He knew that this illusion would descend once every half a year. After descending 3 times, who knew when it would appear again? Perhaps it would be 100 years, perhaps it would be 20 years. This was the 3rd descent. After this, no one knew when it would descend again. Xiao Chen estimated that the number of Emperor Wu who came to explore the Immortal Palace would be the largest. Just as Xiao Chen saw, there were many Emperor Wu of factions on the surrounding islands. Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu and even Sovereign Emperor Wu from the Heavenly Starry Ocean, the Storm Sea, the Ice Sea, the Dark Sea, the Human Demon Sea, and many other holy lands of the oceanic worlds had come. Among them, The ones that Xiao Chen was familiar with included the elders of the Five Poison Sect, the Heavenly Province Academy, the Yinyang Paradise, and other Holy Lands. These Holy Lands elders mostly surrounded the Emperor Wu of their respective sects, huddling together. "Might I ask if you are the Shadowless Saber Sovereign?" Just as Xiao Chen was looking around, a hemp-robed old man came over and greeted Xiao Chen. This old man was very old, at least 1,000 years old. His cultivation was very high, an 8th Heaven Emperor Wu. This old man's clothes did not have the insignia of a sect. It looked like he was a sectless loose cultivator. Most loose cultivators did not have a good reputation. However, after advancing to Martial Emperor, they could be considered to have made a name for themselves. However, some would still retain the bad habits from before advancing to Martial Emperor. The throne rotated, and Xiao Chen turned his head back and said, "That is me. Is there something I can help you with?" The hemp-robed old man smiled and said, "This old man is Mu Yong, a loose cultivator of the IC. This time, I have gathered some people of the same path and are preparing to barge into the Mirage Immortal Palace together. It looks like the Shadowless Saber Sovereign is alone. How about you join our team? We can take care of each other." Xiao Chen thought to himself, not in a rush to agree. It would be good to have more people to take care of each other. However, there was also a disadvantage to having more people. This was especially so for loose cultivators. Their characters were all over the place, and there were too many unknowns. Seeing Xiao Chen hesitate, the hemp-robed old man answered, "Although our small team is small in number, we have a peak geomaster. This old man is untalented, but he has been to the Mirage Immortal Palace 3 times and returned safely." When Xiao Chen heard this, he narrowed his eyes. This hemp-robed old man could not be underestimated. To think that he came out alive after entering the Mirage Immortal Palace 3 times. His strength was probably at the peak of the 8th Heaven Emperor Wu. If it were before, without the Divine Lightning Eye, Xiao Chen would have felt some fear. However, now that he had cultivated the Divine Lightning Eye for half a month, he could already familiarize himself with it. Before the Holy Lord, Xiao Chen was confident that he could escape unscathed. What more an 8th Heaven Emperor Wu? Since he did not have to worry about protecting himself, and the other party was so experienced, it was not out of the question to travel with him. "In that case, let's travel together. Senior Mu, you can just call me Shadowless," Xiao Chen said as he raised his head. Under the mask, no one could see his expression. The hemp-robed old man smiled joyfully and said, "Good. With the Shadowless Saber Sovereign holding down the fort, we are more confident. Come, I'll bring you to meet the other companions of the others." After saying that, the hemp-robed old man led Xiao Chen to a nameless island. When the other Holy Lands saw this scene, they all felt some regret. The arrival of the Shadowless Saber Sovereign had attracted their attention long ago, and their gazes never left him. However, there were too many legends about the Shadowless Saber Sovereign, which made people feel that it was not easy to get close to him. Unexpectedly, the hemp-robed old man's words moved Xiao Chen. This was truly somewhat surprising, making the people who wanted to rope in Xiao Chen feel regret. When the two landed on the small island, 5 people immediately stood up to welcome them. 2 were a middle-aged couple with similar cultivations, both 7th Heaven Emperor Wu. Of course, they only looked middle-aged. No one knew how old they were. There was also a fiend race woman. Based on her aura, she should be of the Blood Shark fiend race bloodline. As Xiao Chen had seen the Blood Shark Sovereign of the 13 Great Bandits before, he was very familiar with the aura of the Blood Shark fiend race bloodline. With one glance, Xiao Chen could tell that the other 2 were a swordsman and a bladesman. The 5 were very respectful to Xiao Chen. This was especially so for that bladesman Martial Emperor. When he saw Xiao Chen, he was exceptionally excited. Xiao Chen returned the greeting. He did not put on any airs, giving the bladesman a good impression of him. The hemp-robed old man introduced everyone with a smile, increasing the trust between them. This group of people should be taking him as the leader. Unexpectedly, right after Xiao Chun had this thought, he saw the hemp-robed old man respectfully say to a black-clad old man, "Senior Jiang, this is the shadowless saber sovereign, the most famous saber sovereign in recent years. Even when the three holy masters worked together, they could not kill him." The matter of the shadowless saber sovereign escaping the three holy masters' encirclement in the savage battlefield had already spread, making him even more famous. However, this black-clad old man did not seem to buy it. He did not even turn around. He only said indifferently, "It is just luck. What is there to brag about? Ask him if he can defeat any of the Holy Lord Martial Emperors." When Xiao Chun heard this voice, he found it somewhat familiar. He recalled that the hemp-robed old man said that there was a geomaster in the group. Could it be this person? The hemp-robed old man smiled awkwardly and said, "This is Senior Jiang, a famous geomaster of the oceanic world. The geomancy of the Mirage Immortal Palace is very strange. There are many ominous places, so we need to invite a geomaster along." Senior Jiang? Could it be that Jiang Tian who once gave me the spirit vein map of the oceanic world? As Xiao Chun thought, he answered, "It's fine. I am indeed not a match for any geomaster. Senior Jiang is right." Upon hearing Xiao Chen's reply, the indifferent hemp-robed old man could not figure it out. However, it was good that he was not angry. At least you know your limits. Otherwise, if you really went to the Mirage Immortal Palace, you would not even know how you died, Senior Jiang said expressionlessly as he stood up and turned around. When Xiao Chun saw the other party's appearance, his expression did not change. However, he smiled in his heart. It really was Jiang Tian, that powerful geomaster. Chapter 1439. Xiao Chun did not respond to Elder Jiang's words, but the hemp-clothed old man was startled. It looked like this Senior Jiang had not traveled much in the past few years and did not know the shadowless saber sovereign's name. Fearing that Xiao Chun would get angry, the hemp-robed old man quickly explained, "Brother Shadowless, don't get angry. Senior Jiang's character is like this. However, this trip to the Mirage Immortal Palace cannot go without him." Who knew? Xiao Chun did not get angry as Xiao Chun expected. He said calmly, "Geomaster Jiang Tian, I know. Senior Mu, there is no need to be so polite. I do indeed have to rely on Senior Jiang for the trip to the Mirage Immortal Palace." Jiang Tian smiled when he heard this. "Good. It's best to know when to yield and when to stand tall. Otherwise, no matter how strong you are, if you don't want to listen to this old man, you can scram as far as you can. I was just testing you just now. Since you've heard of me and know my background, I won't waste any more time." Jiang Tian's tone was very arrogant, but no one present was dissatisfied. Firstly, there were very few geomasters. Secondly, Jiang Tian's strength spoke for itself. Everyone here was a seventh heaven or eighth heaven sovereign martial emperor. They understood this principle, and would not be as reckless and ignorant as the youths. Xiao Chun thought to himself, "This old Jiang's temper is still the same as before. However, this kind of person is quite easy to get along with. At the very least, he wouldn't have to worry about anyone scheming behind his back." Presumably, this was one of the reasons why everyone trusted him so much. Xiao Chun did not want to expose too much, fearing that the other party would recognize him. The throne flew up and landed on a remote mountain rock. Then, it closed its eyes and rested, continuing to derive the divine lightning eye. In half a month, Xiao Chun had already comprehended the first layer of the divine lightning eye. Without even needing to make hand seals, Xiao Chun could execute them at an extremely fast speed. The consumption of primordial energy was also reduced to a quarter. The only drawback was that it hurt his eyes. Every time he used it, black blood would flow out of his eyes. His eyeballs would be damaged, and if he used it for a long time, his eyes would be completely destroyed. He guessed that the divine lightning eye had another accompanying eye protection technique to protect the naked eye. But in reality, he had guessed wrong. The body of an immortal didn't have the slightest bit of worldly aura. The body of an immortal wouldn't have such a side effect at all. If there really was a matching eye protection technique, Thunder Immortal Ancestor would have definitely passed it on to him. However, Thunder Immortal Ancestor didn't think of this at all. As a result, Shao Chen suffered. No matter how powerful the divine eye of thunder and lightning was, he didn't dare to use it too much unless he could make up for the damage to his eyes. Otherwise, if he really became blind, the loss would outweigh the gain. Suddenly, Shao Chen felt someone approaching. He opened his eyes and saw that the bladesman from his team was walking over. "Sorry for interrupting Senior Saber Sovereign's meditation. I am Feng Shao. I have long heard of the Saber Sovereign's name," the bladesman said politely with cupped hands. As the saying goes, one does not slap a smiling person. This person was Shao Chen's companion and was also a bladesman. His strength was extraordinary as well. Hence, even though this person interrupted him, Shao Chen did not get angry. He nodded and said, "You are too polite. The title of Saber Sovereign is an exaggeration. Brother Feng, you can just call me Shadowless." Feng Shao smiled and said, "In that case, I'll address you as Brother Shadowless. Although I have been wandering around the 4 seas, making a mess of the seas, I have heard of your great name in the past few years. I am very happy to meet you today." Feng Shao, this name was very familiar. Shao Chen thought for a while and recalled. Then, his eyes lit up as he said, "Brother Feng, are you the 4 Seas Berserk Saber, Feng Shao?" "Ha! Unexpectedly, the Shadowless Saber Sovereign has heard of me." "That's right. That's what people called me many years ago. However, in recent years, geniuses have risen up too quickly in the Golden Age. I no longer dare to call myself that." Feng Shao did not refute the title of the 4 Seas Berserk Saber, nor did he think much of it. He just casually mocked Shao Chen. Shao Chen understood what Feng Shao meant. After many new stars rose up in the Golden Age, they especially liked to challenge those famous seniors. They wanted to become famous in one battle and trample on the other party ruthlessly. The more they trampled, the happier they would be. 3 years ago, when I was traveling the world, I wanted to seek out the 4 Seas Berserk Saber for advice. Unexpectedly, I met you here today. Shao Chen explained why he remembered Feng Shao. "However, your whereabouts are uncertain. I have not been able to find a suitable opportunity." Feng Shao smiled and said, "I've heard of your experiences. Your perseverance and breadth of mind are truly admirable. If it were me, I would not have the patience to seek advice one by one." They were both bladesmen and had common topics to talk about. After getting to know each other, the two started to talk more. "Brother Shao, what are you going to the Mirage Immortal Palace for?" Feng Shao asked directly, no longer having any reservations. Shao Chen did not mind. He answered honestly, "The cycle arts." "The cycle arts?" Feng Shao thought for a while before saying, "In that case, you have to be careful of that group of people from the Zodiac Hall. They already said that they are here for the cycle arts." Shao Chen's heart sank. He recalled that the cyclic astral lord once sought out the Jadeite sovereign for the destruction throne and felt that this was somewhat strange. "The cyclic astral lord is here?" Shao Chen asked. "He is not here. In the past 5 years, the cyclic astral lord has rarely shown himself. I wonder what he is up to. However, the Sun Palace's palace master is here. This is Emperor Wu, who is a 9th heaven martial emperor." The Zodiac Hall had 72 palaces based on the constellations. The Sun Palace was ranked first, and its palace master was also the strongest. Although this person was not on the same level as the Holy Lord, he was still a 9th heaven martial emperor. It would not be easy to deal with him. However, since the cyclic astral lord was not here, there was still a chance. Feeling confident, Shao Chen asked casually, "Brother Feng, why are you here?" "I am here to comprehend the Tao." There are many murals and will sculptures from the immemorial era in the Mirage Immortal Palace. They all contain the Tao. If I can gain even a little bit, I will have profited greatly, Feng Shao said seriously, a hopeful look flashing in his eyes. After all, not everyone was like Shao Chen, who had extremely high comprehension ability and could carve out his own Tao. In that case, he could only walk the Tao of his predecessors. The world changed in the Golden Age. One could raise their cultivation very quickly. However, one could only think of their own Tao. As the two chatted, a scarlet cloud suddenly flew over from the distance. Immediately, the expressions of the people from the Holy Lands and some loose cultivators on the various islands changed. Shao Chen was no stranger to this scarlet cloud. It was the blood-clad sect, a mysterious faction that rose up in the oceanic world in the past 5 years. The blood-clad sect wore scarlet clothes and exuded a sinister air. No one knew how it rose up. However, in the past 5 years, this faction had already spread to the various sea domains. Its sect master was also a mysterious person. Even now, no one knew who he was. However, the few vice-sect masters that appeared were all extremely strong. No one dared to underestimate this mysterious sect master. That group of madmen from the blood-clad sect is here as well. It looks like this trip to the Mirage Immortal Palace is not going to be peaceful, Feng Shao muttered with a grave expression. Shao Chen did not say anything. He also felt some fear for this blood-clad sect. Back then, when Elder Qin underwent his tribulation, the group of scarlet-clad people who came to cause trouble were of the same origin as this blood-clad sect. The group of scarlet-clad people who came to cause trouble were of the same lineage as this blood-clad sect. However, Shao Chen had not expected this faction to grow so quickly in a short 5 years. As the day of the Mirage Immortal Palace's descent approached, more and more experts arrived. No one wanted to miss out on the third descent of the Mirage Immortal Palace. At the end of the sea, amid the boundless fog and mountains, the ethereal scene of the Mirage Immortal Palace slowly became clearer. The dense immortal chi made people feel more and more real. Even the naked eye could see it. One could see the silhouette of the palace in the mountains. The floating Mirage Immortal Palace was even more vivid, appearing in detail. Shao Chen's originally calm heart stirred. He had to obtain the cycle arts. He had comprehended all 7 states from the 7 thrones. Everything was ready. The cycle was complete. All that was left was the east wind. On this particular day, just as the Mirage Immortal Palace was about to descend, immortal music suddenly rang out in the distance. An immortal ship traveled through the clouds, surrounded by a faint, colorful light. The people of the Penglai Sea. Shao Chen's heart skipped a beat. This was truly unexpected. To think that the immortal cultivators of the Penglai Sea came to join in on the excitement. Chapter 1440. For the past 1,000 years, the Penglai Sea had been in a state of seclusion. Very few people came out. Many people had already forgotten about the Penglai Sea. They did not know that such a place existed. This was the martial epoch. Forcefully cultivating was definitely not the right path. Not only was it incomparably difficult, but there was also no hope of becoming an immortal. It could be said to be extremely tragic. However, no one would underestimate the strength of these cultivators. There were all kinds of strange immortal techniques, powerful divine abilities, and sharp and ever-changing magic treasures. When warriors fought with these immortal cultivators, it was very difficult. If they could not get close, they might be played to death. After living in seclusion for 1,000 years, they suddenly appeared in the Golden Age. It was really hard to understand the origins of this group of immortal cultivators. Furthermore, he had not seen them for 1,000 years, and he did not know how strong these cultivators were. It was not easy to make a judgment. Perhaps he had improved, or perhaps he had regressed. Interesting. Looks like this group of immortal cultivators really can't live any longer. 2 of the 3 great celestial sovereigns have actually come. Jiang Tian seemed to understand this group of immortal cultivators very well. He casually commented without the slightest bit of respect. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat as he asked, "Elder Jiang, why do you say that? You don't know?" "That makes sense. Aside from some old antiques, there aren't many who know about this secret," Jiang Tian said coolly. The hemp-robed elder, Mu Yong, said, "I know a little about this. The immortal qi in the Penglai Sea has been decreasing. Therefore, 1,000 years ago they sealed the small world in the Penglai Sea. From the looks of it now, it seems like he has reached a dead end and has to fight to the death." Feng Xiao asked, "Are cultivators very strong?" The old man in sackcloth thought that he might have to deal with this group of cultivators along the way, so he explained, "They are very strong. Venerable Immortal's strength is comparable to the 9th Heaven Emperor Wu, and he can fight against the Holy Lord. However, once they get close to you, even you can easily kill an immortal venerate. Without an immortal body, unable to jump out of the 6 paths of reincarnation, and without any truly powerful divine arts, these immortal cultivators simply cannot compare to the immortal cultivators of the immortal epoch." However, Xiao Chen vaguely felt that something was wrong. Things were probably not that simple. The Penglai Sea was not as weak as the two made it out to be. Otherwise, where would they find the courage to take in Xie Changtian, who had killed the Thunder King Sang Mu? However, these questions were all secrets, so he couldn't say much. For the time being, he could only take it one step at a time. "Look, there's another woman on the mountain." Just at this moment, someone suddenly arrived on a mountain below the Mirage Immortal Palace in the nearby sea region. Xiao Chen's 6 senses were sharp. Upon hearing this, he immediately looked over. Sure enough, there was indeed a woman on the mountain. She was dressed in white and had long hair. She held a long sword in her hand and floated like a fairy. His appearance was refined, untainted by the aura of the mortal world. His eyes were like stars and gems, embellished within. As the saying goes, a woman's beauty is dazzling and can turn all living things upside down. At this moment, the Mirage Immortal Palace had yet to descend. How could there be anyone on this mountain? This question appeared in Xiao Chen's heart. He looked at the old man in linen clothes, but he found that the old man's face was calm. "Is she a fairy?" Feng Xiao asked in a daze. The middle-aged couple and that swordsman felt suspicious as well. At the same time, they were impressed by this woman's appearance and aura. "She is not an immortal. She is the female sect master of that sect from the immemorial era. This is the 3rd time I've seen her," the hemp-robed old man said calmly. "She appears in a different place every time. However, after entering, I have never seen this woman before. She is extremely mysterious." The instant this woman appeared, the 2 immortal venerates on the immortal ship opened their eyes at the same time. The Penglai Sea's 3 immortal venerates were Immortal Venerate Yunchen, Immortal Venerate Mingyu, and the strongest, Immortal Venerate Tianyi. Immortal Venerate Yunchen was famous for his alchemy. His combat prowess was slightly inferior, so he did not come along. Instead, it was Ming Yu and Tianyi, the 2 immortal venerate. As the 2 immortal venerates looked at the ethereal woman on the mountain, they revealed complicated expressions. They seemed to understand this woman's origins. At the same time, the blood-clad sect's vice-sect master, Xia Chu, also stared at the white-clad woman. After understanding the situation, the many sovereign martial emperors who came here for the first time no longer found the white-clad woman strange. They only thought that she was an ordinary illusion. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was extraordinary. As he looked at the white-clad woman, a strange feeling welled up in his heart for some reason. Transcendental, able to captivate the masses. Since she was not an immortal, she could only be a fiend. However, this was just Xiao Chen's opinion. Furthermore, the hemp-robed old man said that they would not run into this woman, so there was no need to overthink it. Suddenly, the thick fog spreading at the end of the sea vanished. The mountains and rivers where the Mirage Immortal Palace was appeared clearly before everyone's eyes. This feeling was very miraculous. It was like the Mirage Immortal Palace had always been there, just shrouded in fog. Whoosh! 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 The people of the Holy Lands gathered together and took the lead, flying towards the Mirage Immortal Palace. When they approached the mountains, their figures suddenly vanished, vanishing without a trace. The hemp-robed old man did not find this strange. He explained that they had already entered the Mirage Immortal Palace. This is the jade strip that old Jiang refined. Refine it on your own. Otherwise, after we enter, we will be sent to random places. Only with this jade strip can we stay together. That is what the various Holy Lands do. Xiao Chun received the jade strip and did as instructed. After refining it, he felt the auras of the six merge tightly together. Let's go. When everyone finished refining the jade strip, the hemp-robed old man took the lead, and the others followed closely behind. Xiao Chun was the last to follow unhurriedly. As the mountains and rivers approached, the scene suddenly vanished. The world spun around as the cycle throne landed on the ground with a buzz. Strong winds blew in Xiao Chun's ears. After looking around, he discovered that he was at the summit of a mountain. Mountains surrounded him, and some people stood at the summit of each mountain. However, there were also people who did not get sent to the summit. Instead, they landed at the bottom of the valley. The valley surrounded by mountains was incredibly vast, and the terrain was very complicated. Furthermore, it seemed like there were mysteries here, not as simple as what one saw at the summit. The Mirage Immortal Palace remained quietly in the center of the valley. The hemp-robed old man said indifferently, "You are pretty lucky. You did not get sent to the bottom of the valley." He was extremely proficient in the yin-yang illusory technique. Every restriction was fused with the yin-yang illusory technique. The real fakes are hard to guard against. It's very strange. If one is directly transported to the bottom of the valley, an inexperienced person would very quickly touch the restriction and die. Mu Yang's words sent chills down people's spines, and they were somewhat skeptical. Right at this moment, a series of miserable screams came from the bottom of the valley, causing one's heart to palpitate. In an instant, no one dared to look down on Mu Yong anymore. They all stepped back and stood behind old Jiang. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Don't listen to old man Mu's lies. I can still protect you before we enter the Immortal Palace. Let's go down the mountain first." The Immortal Palace at the bottom of the valley seemed very close, but with some bloody examples, no one foolishly suggested flying over. On the way down the mountain, Jiang Tian was unusually cautious, stopping every 3 steps. The black-clothed swordsman in the team kept muttering to himself. Clearly, he was not satisfied with this speed. "I say, Senior Jiang, can we go faster? At this speed, we will take 1 month to reach the Mirage Immortal Palace. Before we reach the foot of the mountain, we will be sent out." After walking for a while, the black-clothed swordsman's dissatisfaction finally erupted. This place would only be open for 1 month. As long as one did not die within 1 month, they would be sent out. Although the black-clothed swordsman's words were exaggerated, this Jiang Tian's speed was indeed somewhat slow. Xiao Chun did not say anything. He vaguely sensed that along the way, they had already passed at least 6 illusion formations. Furthermore, with every step they took, the surrounding geomancy and geography changed. This gave Xiao Chun the feeling that the mountain under his feet was alive. In geomancy terms, this was called a spirit-connecting mountain. If it were naturally formed, that would be fine. However, it would be an immortal mountain. However, if it were man-made, it would be a bona fide ghost mountain. Hence, no matter how dissatisfied Xiao Chun was with Jiang Tian's speed, he would not have any objections. At the very least, he was half a geomaster and understood the depth of this. "Ha! In that case, please go ahead," Jiang Tian said with a shrug, not getting angry. The black-clothed swordsman seemed to be dissatisfied with Jiang Tian's attitude long ago. He said angrily, I'll go then. I am a seventh heaven sovereign martial emperor. Could it be that I can't walk on a mountain path? Brother Wen, don't be rash. The hemp-robed old man tried to smooth things over. However, the black-clothed swordsman had already moved past Jiang Tian and continued forward. The hemp-robed swordsman could not stop him in time. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 10 steps. Soon, the black-clothed swordsman had taken 10 steps. He turned his head back and smiled. I already said that it will be fine. Why are you acting so mysterious? How is it? However, the black-clothed swordsman saw the expressions of Jiang Tian, Feng Xiao, the hemp-robed old man, and the others. They all showed extreme horror and grave expressions. He immediately felt that something was wrong. Actually, the black-clothed swordsman was just angry and would not go far. He just wanted to prove that he could go down the mountain faster. When the black-clothed swordsman looked down, he paled in fright. Each of his 10 steps had been dyed red with blood, looking exceptionally eye-catching.